Warning, if you're faint of heart or easily offended, this show is not for you.
All right, this is the Nick Vertucci Show. I am Nick Vertucci. This is Veronica Brill. Today's show will be about the Garrett and Robbie situation. A lot of you want to hear from me, and I am going to give Veronica an opportunity to ask me anything she wants, and we are going to discuss this matter as much as we can. Let's go. Okay, so Veronica, you and I you asked me, you wanted to discuss this, and you thought it was a good idea, and I agreed to it, and let's go.
So I want to, before I ask you anything, and one of the things I needed to keep the integrity of the show and my own, as a person who feels a responsibility to the poker community or just telling the truth to maintain integrity, I really needed to have you be open to having me ask any question.
Sure.
And that's important for me because I never want to appear as though I'm like selling a product or like misleading the public or something, or being a shill for anything.
Of course.
So I just want to give a little bit of background because this is a bit more of a serious show and we're typically joking around and, but I don't feel like this is a joking situation.
Yeah,
I just want to, so I was the person who was the whistleblower for the Mike Postle cheating scandal, or the cheating that happened at Stones. I was a commentator there. I also played in the game. And I think of integrity and telling the truth and living your life with a set of ethics as like one of the most valuable things. I value it more than I do money. And many people have said, all the stories are out there right now. Many people have said, like, I'm vouching for you, I'm vouching for Hustler. I am vouching for the truth. And if I thought in any way that you were involved, I would call you out publicly and I wouldn't do this podcast.
I know that.
And I couldn't work with someone who I believed was lying or cheating or stealing. And I want the public to know that because I have a life, I have a job. I don't need to do this podcast. And I would leave the podcast if I thought you had some involvement. So I just want the audience to know that although Nick, I really like Nick and I've gotten to know you and I've gotten to really like him, there's no amount of like money or clout or anything that would keep me from calling him out if I felt he was cheating or involved in cheating or lying or whatever. And so I'm here because I actually, at this moment, with all the information I have, I sincerely believe that you are trying to do the best thing for Hustler Casino Live. And I've seen how much of yourself you put into this live stream. So I just want that to be a foundation set and not, I'm just like really tired of people saying that I'm like shilling for you or the show or anything, because I hold integrity and honesty and a strong set of ethics as like the highest thing on my pyramid in things that I want in my life. Monetary gain is like below that.
Yeah, you've taken a lot of heat in the community with the Mike Postle thing, and I know that, and I wouldn't expect anything less from you.
Yeah. So I also think like now that that's out of the way, I want to be able to tell you, our producer, you need the mic closer to you.
Okay.
I want to be able to ask you questions and honest answers. And like people have to know that you're also in a place where there's an active investigation going on, right?
Yeah, correct.
So whatever you can answer, great. Whatever you can't, just tell us.
Yeah, I will, like you said it for me, but if there is something that I can't answer because it will get in the way of the truth, then I'm not going to do that. It will not, I won't avoid questions for self-preservation. And I think I've proven that already, putting some things out that weren't helpful to this for us. But, that's my commitment to do it. I'm going to continue to do it. And,
So I don't there's just been so much going on in the last, 10 days. And it's hard to know where to start. The story has a beginning, but, the information is coming out slowly, and it's come out piecemeal. But I think we could start with just you and I have had conversations about Joey Ingram's stream.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's first.
Yeah, I kind of want to talk about Joey Ingram's stream first.
Okay,
and like, just as a foundation, I'm friends with Joey. I really like Joey.
Mm-hmm.
I understand his process.
Right.
He does have a process for his live streams, and it's a bit noticeable. I think like he gives his guests kind of a red carpet, and whether or not he believes anything about them, he tries to make them comfortable, and he tries to help them tell their story. Yeah. But he also drags that out for days and days at a time. And we all know, like, it's his show. This is kind of what he does. He sensationalizes it a bit, but that is his process. I like Joey. I like his show.
Yeah.
It's just weird when you're in the middle of it and you're being scrutinized.
It's pretty weird.
So I know you've had some frustrations with Joey.
Yeah. Let me preface too, and I think everyone that watches in the poker world or knows me knows I'm not a sugarcoater. I'm not Switzerland. I don't take the middle road on a
microphone.
I don't take the middle road on a lot of subjects. So let me start out by saying this, and I say it because I mean it. I like Joey Ingram. Okay. I still do. I still like Joey Ingram. Joey and I talked the other day. It might've been yesterday, day before. I will tell you the days are a blur to me. I could, it's hard for me to remember what day it is, but we talked in the last couple of days, and we're good. And I have no issue with the poker community rallying around this to get the truth. I have no issue with Joey running his 5-10 hour streams. Again, I know he wants the truth, and I also know that it is a business for him, and this is very good for him. So as a content creator, that probably doesn't get any better than this. So all good. I'm a business guy, and I think Joey has great intentions. Was the question my frustrations?
Yeah.
Yeah. So my frustrations that I mentioned to you, and I'm going to keep them, pretty concise. I guess what it's like is this. I guess when you're in the eye of the storm and it's you, it's harder to deal with some of the things of how it goes. And what that would mean is not having guests on. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying not to sensationalize it, especially for views and monetary reasons. I'm not saying I'm not okay with that. It's fine. But I do know that, it's like this. Okay. We had, like, for example, and there's just a few things. One thing is, it's just like, I know anyone could come on his show and there can be anything read, and I know we have to read everything, get everything out. But sometimes there's like some people that come on and everyone has entitled to their opinion, no matter what it is, but some of the craziest conspiracies, and that's fine. You should pursue them all. But it just seems like sometimes it's been a little more about that than, and I'm not going to name names, but there's been a couple people on the show that are very close to this, that are a lot more seriously needing to be looked into. And those people, and I know there's a reason for it, probably to keep communication going and to protect your guests, but I've seen a lot of other conversations, including ones that I've been in on the show, that have been allowed, and the peppering of questions that have been allowed. I'm okay with that. But there had been a guest or two on recently that really needed to be interviewed, and there was some people asking these people some tough questions, and they were stopped. And they were stopped in the vein of not offending the guest. And I don't know. So you
understand what he's doing, right?
Yeah, I do.
He's trying to keep the person comfortable so they keep talking so that they release more and more information. Yep. Is there a specific person you're referencing?
No, I don't want to say, because I don't want to give my opinion of who I think should be scrutinized more than others, because everyone has to understand that if this was just Nick Vertucci on the show with you, looking out into, say anything, I'll tell it, exactly what I'm thinking. But because I'm in the middle of the investigation, and there are things like even that I've mentioned when I went on Joey's show, that like, this is an investigation. It takes a while. You can't release everything you know. You can't draw an opinion and slant something one way. You have to stay neutral, and you have to go after the truth. And sometimes that's where there's a stop block of what I can say or why I would choose not to say who in this instance.
I was on the show with Sean, and I'm not saying this is a person you're referencing. I'm just saying that I had a bit of frustration when I was on the show with Sean Deeb. Shout out to Sean Deeb. He's one of my friends, and I think he's trying to uncover the truth. And Sean and I were trying to ask Beans questions, and Beans was able to skirt around the really important stuff that it would be good for all of us to know. And Joey was interrupting him. I did get frustrated with that portion. And I actually I have no interest in jumping back on that show because I respect his process, and I really, really love Joey. But I think that I have contributed what I can. Obviously, I'm not the main focal point on this story by any means, but it gets frustrating when we can't get the hard questions to certain people that we want.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, we could get Beans on our show. Sure. I don't think he would come on. He might.
I wouldn't be on the show interviewing Beans because I think that's a conflict of interest for me.
I mean, I'm still curious now because last night they were talking about some sort of $20K, so that he received $20K from her, that there was some sort of wire. And I'm like, well, then let's get the wire receipt. Did the wire actually go through? Why haven't you paid her back? Because if you were supposed to get a wire, you should pay her back as soon as the wire comes in. Oh, what does it take? 2-3 days? So where's that? It just feels like there's a lot of inconsistencies with his story.
And one thing I want to say before you move on, or before you continue, is I may go back on Joey's show, but I probably won't. But it isn't because I have a problem with Joey personally or that we're not good. I want Joey to hear this, Poppy, if you're listening. We're both in a tough situation, and sometimes things get like this. I have no doubt we'll come out on the right end of it, even personally. So it's not something where it's a beef at all. But and the reason for that is because that platform is too crazy for me. And you got people trolling saying, and that's fine. That's what they do, saying the most outrageous things are happening. There's being shout outs in the middle of your interview. It's too much for me. It's to me, it's not what I'm looking for, and it's distracting. So, but that's okay.
But we have to understand, he has his own podcast
has nothing to
promote. Yeah, I mean,
has nothing to do with
process.
It's wrong. It has to do with it's probably not a good idea for me. But so what I was going to say is, anytime Joey wants to come on here, we'll fire up the new thing we have where we can do Skype interviews, and we can have him call in if he ever wants to do that, and he can ask me as many questions as he wants. So it's not an avoidance thing. It's the platform that I don't care for in this situation, right? For me. And the other thing that I would note is, and I want everyone to be clear, I was on a show the other night, again, a blur. And, Joey maybe just was creating, a thing when he said it, but he said on Twitter, bring Poppy in and we'll have it solved in 20 hours. And then he said that a couple times on a show. And so I had reached out to him and I said, hey, the poker community trusts you would not be, you wouldn't hide anything. And so if you wanted to come into the process and you literally want to watch it, all the footage, everything, I got the permission from the general manager of Hustler Casino who agreed to it. And Joey and I were discussing it, and he's like, well, what do you think? I don't know, okay, maybe, what role? And we just were talking. And then I went on a show. It was late. I was exhausted. He was exhausted. He had been on for God knows how many hours. And I brought that up, and he wanted to, and I think I understand why now, but he wanted to back away from that or that situation because he might not have wanted to be affiliated with it or something. I don't know. But he acted like it didn't happen. And I felt like I was in the twilight zone because he got really cranky with me and was like, well, what do you want me to do? I don't get it. Okay, fine, we'll talk offline, but what do you want my role to be? And I'm like, again, am I in the twilight zone? You said it, not me. And I am offering it to...
Yeah, was it him tweeting it or someone else tweeted it?
Something like that. I think it was him, I think it was him. And it was said a couple times on the show. So my whole thing was, is to do that to let the poker community know that I would let someone like him in, or you, but you know, I don't want to say affiliated with me, but people starting to like talk about that bullshit nonsense, and they don't understand who you are, which is, like you said, if you knew that something happened and you knew it was me, like, I'm fucking cooked, and I know that about you.
Well, I would 100% leave the podcast,
I know
and
that.
I would call you out.
Yeah, I know you. And so people don't understand that. They just think there's, you know, they have their opinions. And so, but it's like, that's the reason I offered Joey to do that, is because I want the poker community to know one thing. I'm not going to hide anything. I don't know the answer right now. We have a lot of stuff we're working on, but as we saw, we'll get to it later, as we saw with the employee who was caught and outed, like, that's really bad timing for me, whether it's related or not. And I had it out within a couple hours. And then of course, you know, that backfires on you too, because then there's a million different conspiracies of that and everything else, but whatever. So my point is, Joey probably isn't going to come do that. And I think at this point, the way that went, that interaction, I would probably choose somebody else to come in.
I think Doug would be a great person to do it.
Well, good. And I had, you know, we had Doug here playing this week, and on Thursday and Friday. And, you know, we were very open with Doug. We brought him up into the control room, but now everyone, want you to understand, even though he was playing that day, it was because he's a content creator, it was just to look at what was going on. And we sat in 3 chairs, nobody touched anything, and we had a conversation and we went down. So, and the same thing happened when I got that information. I went to Doug and Ryan, who were sitting at a poker table. We were in a meeting, and I went and got that information about Brian. And I asked the general manager if I can go back up and talk about it, because I need to, and I want to get it out. And he said, okay, the casino is not hiding anything. They are not worrying about any liability. They're just not. Like, they're a big entity. They know they've had, you know, owning a casino, there's cheating all the time, and they deal with it, and they prosecute, right? And they wanted to prosecute, but they weren't the victim, right? And I was going to prosecute. We'll get to that later, but I wound up not being the victim. It was Robbie. So we'll get to that in a minute. But I went back to Doug and Ryan, and they're like, what's the matter? Because they saw my face, and I was like, well, I was just told this. And then I went in and I reviewed it, and yeah, and that was that. And then we could get to the other stuff, but then, you know, I started dealing with that situation. So yeah, if Doug wanted to do that, sure, I have no problem with it. I'm probably going to back away from the Joey on this one, just because of our interaction. I still, you know, don't quite get it, but again, we're good, and I want him to keep doing what he's doing, and I want the poker community to get as much information as they can. And there's no beef.
Before I ask you the big question, I want to know, like, you talked about prosecuting Brian. I guess you were a cop.
Yeah.
And so maybe you can talk to us a little bit about how that works, because some people are saying, well, the casino gave it back. And so now it's the casino gave back Robbie her $15K. So now
the casino gave it back to her?
Well, who gave back?
Nobody yet.
Robbie said that she received $15K. She received payment back from the casino for the $15K being taken. Who wrote that?
I don't know. I don't have any knowledge of that. I really don't. I don't know. All I know is I put a tweet up that said, in good faith, we would pay it. But she's never contacted me over that.
Oh, so you still haven't paid her the $15K that you said you would?
No,
in good
I put
faith.
it out publicly, and that offer is on the table.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Sorry. I guess
and we're not paying the $15K to try to, like, gain any mileage about how great we are. Where I would just offer that because I feel a responsibility, because of the fact one of my employees came down and palmed 3 chocolate chips. I mean, like, I probably shouldn't have had an employee at the table with chips. So, I mean, that will never happen again. But, you know, a year into this now, the people come down, my staff comes down, they get the mics, you know, they hang out, they talk to the players. Obviously, it's not going to happen anymore, right? But it did happen, and it is, you know, my company with Ryan. And so I felt compelled to say, if you would like this, it's in good faith. That's all.
So she's the only one who can press charges?
Yes, they were. It was her money on her rack that she was in possession of, and she's the only one that could do that because, I was pressing charges until when I got into the other room after my interview and interrogation of my employee with a legal counsel. When I got over there, it was like, well, this is the victim, and that's when I called Robbie.
So tell me what the monetary amount is that the police would press charges regardless of whether the person wants to or not. Isn't there a line? Isn't there an amount? Like,
what do you mean?
Like, you can't go steal $1 million, walk out, and then the person says, well, I'm not going to press charges.
Oh, the district attorney, like, yes, there's, gosh, this is in my head. I think it's PC 837. Please, if I'm wrong, it's just been a long time since I've been on duty, which means that, an officer can arrest for a felony not in his presence. Like, they can do that. But at the same time, in something like this, the district attorney in LA, even if there was a witness, seems to not want to prosecute a lot of these things. Like they had at the Hustler, there was some $8,000 theft that was red-handed caught, and DA wouldn't prosecute it. And like the general manager, Sean, was like, the fuck? Like, why
and the
not
person chose not to? Or was it from the casino?
No, they were going to, but the DA wouldn't take the case. So you just have to understand there's different district attorneys, different things. So in this case, the police cannot get a case through. They need a victim. They need a victim that's willing to prosecute. And she was the victim and is the victim. It's as simple as that.
I know that she has said that she will prosecute. I don't know if that's true. Do you know if she's going to?
I might know, but that is something that I can't talk about because that's Robbie's business and it's her decision. And I don't want to comment on something because that is so closely tied to everything. That will be her decision. But I mean, I think if she does that, you'll find out soon.
Is his mic close enough?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I'm also trying not to have bad sound for the next 2 hours.
Yeah, the bad sound was my thing here was not attached good when we had that. Which podcast was that?
It was like one of ours, just the two of us.
Yeah.
And it was unfortunate. Last Monday,
yeah. So it was cutting out. No, I think we're good.
Okay. Because people will be tilted.
Well, I'm trying to stay away from it and come back to it because, as we all know, I have allergies and I sniff and I do these things. And then after I eat, which we just ate, it gets worse. But I did take 2 antihistamines and washed my nose out with the neti pot.
He does this like neti pot thing.
Yeah,
and I'm just like, please close the door.
I squeeze one side and it comes out the other. And there's a solution in there that helps. You what?
It is.
Yeah,
you're literally pouring water into your nose
squirting.
And it's coming out the other end, squirting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's true.
This is not a jokey podcast.
No, it's not a jokey podcast. But again, that's why I try to go back a little bit because even though I'm good right now because I've taken an Allegra and a Claritin, I took 2 just to make sure that I don't clear my throat. I'm still trying to be conscious of it. So that's why.
Yeah.
And, I'm not romantically involved with this particular mic, so I think it's fair if we keep our distance. A little levity. Doesn't hurt anyone. Anyways, go on.
So I think it would be unfair for me to not ask you this question.
Okay.
Do you think Robbie cheated?
Well, I think you know how I'm going to answer this question. Maybe. I don't know.
How about
this?
It's not just me sitting here, right? We have an audience, so I think they would want me to ask you that.
Okay, so my answer is, regardless if anyone likes it or not, is this. At this point right now, I don't know what happened. 100%. I do not know. And I've said this, and I said this on Joey's podcast, and if someone, if the court of popular opinion believes that people should take stands and say, I believe you're guilty, I believe you're not, before anything has been found out, my personal opinion, reckless. Okay. Now, yes, I am in the eye of the storm, and I am involved in the sense that it's my stream that it happened on. So also there's a respectful obligation for me not to do that, which I don't believe in that anyways. I believe that everybody is innocent until they're proven guilty. Now, that doesn't mean, let me understand that doesn't mean if I was in front of this mic and I wasn't involved in the investigation, and it wouldn't be a problem for me to say it. I would tell you what I think, but I wouldn't give you an answer if to say she's guilty or innocent, because my morals still say I can't do that if I don't know, because there's so much on both sides of this that has to be looked at, and I won't be reckless like that. And if Robbie is innocent, that's fucked up, right? And I've said this before. And if she is guilty, I don't know if she is, then she should be prosecuted. And the same thing, like I'll say for Garrett, I know he believes what he is saying, but that's his choice. I'm not saying he's wrong. I'm not saying he's right. And so I don't have an opinion if Garrett is wrong or right, because it would be answering the same question you just asked me. But that's how I would approach this, even if it wasn't me that's in the middle of it, kind of.
As a poker player, watching that Jack-4 hand, what was going through your mind?
Well, nothing went through my mind at first because I wasn't watching it, but I will answer. I know.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. When I finally saw the hand, I didn't understand it at all. Not at all. And I understand that's why we're here.
Right.
Because this wasn't just a hero call. It wasn't just, whatever. This is something that, look, if someone's not into poker and doesn't understand poker to a certain level, they can't have this opinion. Because they don't know what the hell they're talking about. And that's why a lot of those people are like, what's wrong? She just had, fine. But if you're a poker player and you have a half a brain, you're stumped.
If you're not stumped and you're a poker player, come to my game.
But that doesn't mean she's guilty. It just means that we're here because that's a hand that can't be explained.
So as I look at everything, and this is how again, I'm not 100% convinced that she's cheating, but I'm swaying more in that direction. But as a person who watched Mike Postle cheat, this is one thing I'm noticing is a lot of people make decisions based on a situation in a vacuum. But when I was dealing with Mike Postle, there were a lot of inconsistencies, a lot of variables outside of poker hands that started to, put a story together for me. He cognitively couldn't walk through hands. He wasn't studying when he was doing better than all of my friends who were studying.
Right.
So when I look at this story, it's hard for me to think, there's so many inconsistencies in Robbie's story. Mm-hmm. There's so many inconsistencies in the way she's playing. And there's clear, if you think she's cheating, she's clearly playing a lot different in certain spots than in spots where she's clearly not cheating. Or you think she's not cheating, or whomever, right? And so to me, the story starts to not make sense, which kind of sways me in a direction.
Okay.
That's why. So that is, it's not just the Jack-4 hand, right? Mm-hmm. It's just multiple things that are starting to unravel themselves in a way, I guess. And that's just kind of how I process it all, and how I've been trying to be pretty coy about my thoughts on this initially, just because of my association with you. I didn't want to add any stress to you because I know you were already getting blown up. Yeah. You and I barely talked this past week.
Yeah, I didn't have the bandwidth for it.
You didn't have the bandwidth. I wanted to leave you alone also.
Yeah.
So I've been trying to stay quiet and not add any gasoline to this explosion. But, I eventually started tweeting my thoughts on it.
Sure.
And color me concerned.
Which goes to your point, if you were just my puppet, I would probably have asked you not to do that, because if there is something that happened here, that's not good for my show, although I believe that we will get through it, because we didn't have, me and Ryan didn't have anything to do with this. But with that said, I've never would ask you or anyone else not to give their opinion, and you have every right to, because you're not part of the investigation. So you have every right to do that, and it doesn't bother me either way what you say or do in that vein, because I'm good with it.
Yeah. No, and I appreciate that. And I think the viewers will appreciate it. And I've tried to explain this to people who've been contacting me this past week.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I think Nick knows who he got as his co-host.
Yeah.
I don't think Nick hired a puppet.
No.
Because if I were to come here today, and I'm just being honest with you, because you and I didn't talk before we talked for like 2 minutes. We talked less than 2 minutes. You were outside of a freaking restaurant at like 10:45 p.m. You're like, I'm about to go in a meeting. I can't talk.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say, I'm like, am I still coming in for the show? You're like, yes. And it was like done. So I haven't talked, but I remember on the plane ride here, I was like, I have to tell Nick, and I don't know how happy he's going to be, but I have to tell Nick that I have to ask him the hard questions. I want to ask him anything, and I want to say what I think.
Yeah.
And if you would have said no to that, I honestly was going to tell you today, I can't do the podcast.
I got so lucky to say yes.
I mean, you've always been like an open book. So, there's just so much here to unpack. This is going to be a 10-hour show. We're going to beat Joey.
I'm here to answer the things you think everyone wants to know that I can answer.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's no particular order to this, right? But I mean, the most prominent person, Robbie.
Yeah.
Robbie comes across interesting to me. So if we start with the article, which is kind of a reflection of it's a microcosm of
the LA Times.
The LA Times article. It's like a microcosm of how Robbie looks at the world and everything, and it's really odd to me. Okay. It's because I try to surround myself with people who are kind of salt of the earth, and I'm not saying that she's not to anybody, but she does not talk in a way that people I know talk. I have wealthy friends. I've never heard them talk about money like it's nothing and showing off. And there's one interesting quote here from the article. Sorry guys, I highlighted it, but then I didn't bring it up front, or did I? I'm like the least prepared co-host. Who uses paper?
We do. Dum.
Did you read the article?
No, I haven't read it.
I know, you don't have a lot of bandwidth.
Right.
So she said, it's just so crazy because I've been so private. And nothing about her lately has been private. It feels like you're doing an LA Times article. If you're private, you could just not do it. But I understand she probably wants to get her story out. But the story isn't really the story. She says, my husband is a successful man. You can Google him. He has a massive law firm called the Lou Firm. He's an owner partner in several bars, restaurants, and a hotel or two. She doesn't know how many. He's the #1 metaverse lawyer in the nation, as well as a professor at La Loyola Law School. He teaches a metaverse class every week. This is a weird thing to teach if you're a lawyer, because that's a tech kind of class. I don't know. Maybe he teaches metaverse law. This is a man who does have bankroll. Then why are you staked? I don't know why money surprises people. I guess it's because most people don't have it. She also didn't have the $5,000 to play in the game when Julie Yorn was in a game with her.
Julie Yorn.
I don't know people who talk like this.
Yeah.
It is really out of touch, and whether or not she's cheating, it's it doesn't have a good look, and I kind of feel bad for her because I don't think she's aware of how she's perceived.
Okay.
So that's one thing.
Yeah.
Her general demeanor is off-putting to me. But that's not the reason why I think something is nefarious. I think there's just a ton of inconsistencies to the things that she's saying, to the way she's responded to the hand. I feel like if she thought she had a Jack 3, she would have turned it over and be like, oh my gosh, that's a 4. Oh my gosh. I feel like none of her responses have been authentic, and having a publicist and I don't know, threatening to sue people, her husband threatening to sue people. It's just it seems like it's just a lot of noise created to steer us off what's potentially happening. And then having these Brian texts show up on Twitter, it appears as though she's like creating her own her own like I guess, what's the word I'm looking for?
Well, creating doubt, more doubt.
Well, I think she's creating her own evidence in her defense.
Oh, I see. Trying to manufacture it.
Yeah, because like Brian's Twitter goes down, and I understand he got fired, so that's like kind of rough. Maybe he wants to start from scratch. But then like I don't know how authentic the texts, they don't seem authentic to me. Mm-hmm. So I just feel like there's a ton of inconsistencies with her story. I think everyone knows all of it because we've been watching Joey and Doug and everything. But like, I'm curious what your thoughts are on Robbie.
Sure. Well, I'm going to do my thoughts on what you said.
Yeah.
On Robbie, right?
Yeah.
Well, my thoughts there are this. From if I was looking out as a third person on this, I would probably say there's a real good case to be made for probably not doing all that. And it's kind of shocking to me that her husband is this greatest attorney in the universe and that she's still doing it. Because I think any attorney who is threatening anything would want their client to stand down, because it could create what you're saying, which is a lot of other narratives that it can bring in and a lot of doubt and a lot of things. So, but with that said, you know, Robbie could do, and I know you know this, I'm saying could do whatever she wants to do. I don't care if she puts a cap on it and puts a lid on it and stops. And I don't care if she goes on every show for the next 6 months. That's really her business. Whether it works for her or against her will be determined, whether that is down the road or even now. People, I think, are drawing different opinions because of them and because of that exposure. But because I am so not biased on this situation, because literally I want the truth. And if her talking brings the truth out, if her not helps with the truth, I just can't, like, she's subject to this investigation, and she has to do what she wants to do. I mean, of course I have my opinion, and you know, you did say something that I do agree with. I have heard inconsistencies from one interview to the next, but again, I'm not going to discuss what they are and what they make me feel. I said at one point, I think to you, that sometimes, like even on the Jack for right in the instance, sometimes people say and do things it could be two reasons. It could be guilt, or it could be just pure embarrassment. And so for being inconsistent, but then not in the heat of the moment, when there's inconsistencies continuing, then I think you have to, you have to look at that. But again, I'm not drawing a conclusion to it, because if I am biased that something happened, then that would make me biased in the investigation. If I'm biased that she didn't, and then that would make me biased that way. And I think there are some people out there that probably want her to be guilty, and there's a lot of people out there who want her to be innocent. That's fine. That is their opinion. But what I want is the truth, because if she didn't do anything, and I can figure, look, there's a real good chance, Veronica, that there's never a 100% conclusion to this. And a matter of fact,
I'm well aware of that.
I'm probably going to tell you that it's probably going to be hard to be dogmatic about it innocently, like to be innocent. The only way you can be 100% guilt is if someone comes up with a confession, or you find something absolutely damning.
I'm very aware of that, with the Mike Postle stuff. So people have to be prepared
for that outcome, and not feel that outcome is something that they're missing because that nobody wants you to know it.
Can I say something?
Please.
As a poker community, especially after the Mike Postle stuff, we see Bryn Kenny playing in tournaments. We see like all these guys who cheated online. They're not in jail. So let's just keep in mind that as a poker community, we have to define our own win here. We have to define our own standards of what we consider probably cheating and what we consider most likely not cheating, probably not cheating. And we have to just abide by those standards, because we probably will never hit 100% certainty with the Mike Postle stuff. I like all the stuff, all the equipment they were using is gone. Was gone like the day after I tweeted.
I know.
So it would be hard to get this quote unquote smoking gun that people talk about. But as a person who practices in the art of data science, I believe data to be a smoking gun, but not a lot of I guess it's up to a jury of your peers or a jury of the public, whatever, social media. But to me, data is like the most important thing. Right. Consistencies or inconsistencies and relative comparisons to other players of her caliber. And that's what makes poker data so difficult, because so many spots are unique and so many things can be interpreted in many different ways.
Yeah.
So
Agreed.
and I know everyone is very eager to hear about the investigation and have an update on it, but I wanted to say that closer to the end, because I feel like that would be a good ending to all of this, because that's the current situation.
Right.
So, let's talk about Brian.
Sure.
So Brian and this is Brian that worked for you. Correct. Brian was recently fired. Sorry. Can you tell us who hired Brian?
Yeah. So Ryan had contacted me at some point, whatever that was. I couldn't tell you how long ago it was, whenever it was. And he said, hey, there's a young kid who wants to come in as an intern, loves poker, wants to be around it, loves what we're doing. And I said, okay.
Has he been with you guys from day one?
I don't know about day one, but he's been there a while. And he put a tweet out that said he's the longest standing something. I don't even know the date. I just can vaguely remember that Ryan asked me, am I cool with him bringing on an intern? And I said, yeah, I don't care. And then he wound up, being really good at what he does in a lot of ways, and, working his way through the whole process.
So do you guys hire separately outside of Hustler Casino, since you're your own entity?
Yes, except for the dealers.
Except the dealers are...
Wait a minute. Tita and Louie work for the casino.
Tita and Louie are who?
Louie is our floor man, specifically for our game. And Tita is the host, if you will, that works just for our game, getting chips, drinks, food, and just...
Oh, yes. I met her. Yeah.
And then the rest in production and media and everything else works for High Stakes Poker Productions.
So does High Stakes Poker Productions do background checks on its employees?
Yeah. So here's how I'll answer that. I'm going to answer very clearly, but I'm going to preface with something. So over the 30 years, I've had a lot of businesses. And at one point I had over 100 employees and I never did a background check.
Why is that?
Just never have done it. So let me answer the question. So no, we didn't. And then let me follow up with, I wish I did, but I'm going to say something to that, and that I fucked up, because I probably should have done that, but I never had done that. And things were moving so fast, and it just was one of those things. Now, with that said, if I would have looked at Brian's background and he had the thing that's on there that everyone sees, and if I would have talked to him about that, and sometimes even being a cop, I know, like, sometimes they'll say, like, you look at the rap and it'll say kidnapping, but it could just be, a dad has a son, he didn't bring him back or something, but you still get charged with that kind of like stigma. So I'm not saying Brian's wasn't really bad, because I don't know. Even to this point, I don't know what his robbery thing was. But I hate to put it to you this way. There are a lot of people that don't have, and I'm not being naive here or trying to justify this. I should have done it, but it didn't mean I wouldn't have hired him. And what I mean by that is if it was something that I felt was like, I guess what I'm saying is there are some people that have a checkered past when in their younger years that have put it, past them. So it probably wouldn't be out of the question that, like, I wouldn't give someone a chance. Now, I'm not saying I would have. I don't know. And just to answer the question, like if someone says, like, how do you feel about not doing that? I feel like I fucked up.
I 100% believe in helping people out if they've had a potentially checkered past, a case-by-case basis.
Case by case.
Yeah, and because there are some people who were in really tough spots growing up, and they did things that they regret doing, and they don't have opportunities that the rest of us have. Yeah. And some people should be given a chance regardless. Yeah. Well, despite their record.
Right. And I'm not using that as a cover for myself or an excuse or whatever, because I didn't do it. So I can't say that I did that. I'm just saying in general, you know this probably getting to know me, like I come across a certain way, the way I act, maybe how I'm built, right? But I'm a softie.
Yeah, I know.
You know? Yeah. So like I could hire somebody that had something in their background that I felt needed a second chance. Maybe in this type of situation, maybe I just shouldn't. But I didn't, so I didn't know. But maybe I shouldn't anyways because of the magnitude of what we're dealing with versus like if I put somebody in another business and they're in the stock room and they ripped off a TV.
I was just about to say that.
Because of the magnitude of it, I don't think that works. So I'm not trying to hang my hat on that.
Yeah. I want to be clear when I say giving people second chances.
Sure.
Like I wouldn't, put someone in a bank that like robbed a bank.
In retrospect, I wish I had, and I take accountability for it.
So do we know if he has stolen from anyone previously?
At this point, we don't. And if I did know that, at this point, I really don't know. But I want to be honest, if I did know and it was part of an investigation, I would not tell you. Because that would ruin the investigation. Right.
Yeah. And I think like people need to be aware that you have been a police officer and you do understand the scope of an investigation. And I hope that the audience understands that, like, I've talked to Nick before this show and I feel like I'm interviewing you on your own show.
Right.
But like, I really wanted to maintain the integrity of the investigation. Mm-hmm. But also like I told Nick, I want him to answer as honestly as possible. And I hope that's like being portrayed. And I hope people respect that.
Yeah. It's crazy because back to your thing about people should understand that. Well, a lot of people don't, because when this first was breaking, literally within 2 days, people were, it could have been on Joey's thing. It could have been on another forum. I really don't know. But I just seen a plethora of, why are they being quiet? Why don't we have an answer? Like, you got to understand, if it happens on a Thursday and you're up all night, on Friday, not much gets accomplished just except getting your bearings. And then over the weekend, there's not a lot you can do, only internally. You can't hire any companies. You can't do anything yet. You have to wait till the next week. So I guess what my point is, and then investigations sometimes take long. Like sometimes you need to, we'll get to it at the end when I tell you who I've hired. But sometimes you need to let those processes play out. I mean, like even hiring one of the best cyber companies out there, like it takes at least a week to get the contract signed and to work out the details and then to get them in. And so again, just to close that thought, it's like the people who don't have any understanding of investigation or reality, are on my jock to like we're not, getting information out. They may not get any information for a month. I don't know, because I did other type of investigations when I was in law enforcement, and I don't know how long this is going to take. But I do know that I'm not just going to, like people say, put out the video of him palming the chips. Well, maybe that will come out, but maybe it won't, because it belongs to the casino. And so I don't know yet. And it's not going to give any credence to the situation because it happened and the person was fired. So like if you want TMZ type of update shit, you're not going to get it from me. And so, but I will give you this happened. I knew that we were going to interview him, and I knew when it was over, he was going to most likely be arrested because I thought I was the prosecuting party. And even when he wasn't and was released, because Robbie chose not to at that moment, I had it out within a couple hours. And now anyone with a reasonable mind has to think about this. If I wanted more time and not take the heat right now, and I wanted to just bring this out later, I probably could have. Now, I will say, if it got out without me bringing it out, it would really look bad on me. So that was one of the factors, but I was bringing it out anyways. And when I sat with Doug Polk, when he knew this was happening, that he was there the day I interviewed Brian with my attorney. And I told him the day of and said to him, this isn't going to play out great for me because he's my employee and how the fuck did I let this happen? But I'm going to put it out. And I'm going to let the chips fall where they may, just like I'm going to do with everything else. And that's just the way it's going to be. And I committed to do that.
So the reason, one of the big reasons why I believe that you want to, and I feel like I'm beating a dead horse, but like it's just
all
going to be
right.
said. Like this is
Just
going to be a
keep
long
saying it.
podcast. We're just going to say it. And
Just
I really
keep
want to
going.
say everything that I'm thinking because I have a comparison to the Mike Postle case. And when I went to management about Mike Postle and potential cheating, I was gaslit. I was told there was nothing going on. I was told I had no idea. And I was also told that they had like this third party come in to check their service and
Right.
whatever the hell that was. Someone like walked by, checked the Wi-Fi settings and made sure the Wi-Fi was good. There was no investigation. That's very clear. There was no investigation. So the fact that like we have now an organization that has potential nefarious activity happening, and then like an instant investigation, instantly transparent findings, especially like it just shows a lot that you're actually wanting to find the truth here and wanting to get to the bottom of it. And it's refreshing to me as someone who is in the middle of another cheating scandal where the casino denied, internal people denied, and gaslit, and we ended up getting nowhere. So this is really nice because you guys are poker players, and you understand the severity of this situation.
Yeah, I think there's a big difference. First of all, that is probably why a lot of people in the poker community have PTSD and are so adamant about thinking that we're not going to do that and maybe implying it. So I understand that. You know this because you laugh at me. Even with I was a poker player for a long time. Even with the Mike Postle stuff, I never got involved in it. Half the time you tell me like somebody, I'm like, who's that? Like I legitimately, I was on Joey's the other night and there was Ryan DePaulo.
Right. Ryan DePaulo is an ACR pro.
Yeah, and I legitimately he was talking to me and asking me questions, and then finally it hit me, and I'm like, who the fuck are you? But everyone in the poker world, I guess, knows that. So I just don't get involved in it. But I think the difference...
Ryan DePaulo had nothing to do with the Mike Postle stuff, just to let you know.
No, I know, but I'm using that as an example of that I don't pay attention to like all these vlogs and people and like the Mike... I didn't even know you were involved in the Mike Postle thing until we met. That's just the truth.
I hope... Is the camera on me to see the disdain in my face?
Yeah. But I'm not because I don't care. It's just because I was doing other things.
Did you know who you hired, or did you just think you were getting a hot blonde?
Well, I don't think you're hot. So probably I knew who I hired. I don't even think I hired you. I just offered you to come and do this with me.
I know.
And the reason I did is because I already told you, let's just talk about this and then we'll be a fun part of the show and then we'll go back. Because you were on social media and the trolling you were doing and the smart ass answers and like the way that you interacted is someone who I wanted to co-host with me so I can have someone that understood how to banter. And then you proved to me very early on that you will attack me at any minute, fun way. And I thought, well, I want that because...
I remember like after our first recording or two, you were like, damn, I thought you were like opinionated, but I didn't think it was going to be like this.
Yeah. You were on turbo mode. But hold on. There was a point. You remember, I'm old. You're old too, but I'm older. Let me think. There was a point I was getting at. Oh, well, here's the thing. Yeah. The difference, I think, here too with us and Stones is, like you said, we're players. We give a shit. This stream means more to Ryan and me than anyone out there could ever fathom. They're not going to get it. Like this is something we put our heart and soul into. And what happened in the last year is pretty surreal. And this is bigger than Stones because we really are the number one poker show as far as views and content.
Of course, yeah.
And so I'm going to do everything I can to protect it. And one thing I've learned, and by the way, we can take that and go, well, why didn't you protect it this way? Why didn't you do that? We'll get to that. There's a lot of mistakes that were made without malice. But this is something that I believe if I come out and say, this is what happened, if I know at some point, and this is how it happened, and this is why it happened, and this is who's accountable, which at the end of the day will be Ryan and I. I believe in my gut people will understand that and appreciate the truth and appreciate the new things that are going to go into place. And I'll tell you what, Veronica, if that doesn't happen, fine. But what I'm not going to do is not say something or make something look different to think that's going to help preserve me. Because what I've learned is, and it's in my book, integrity is longevity. And if I do that, the second I do it, even if I think it doesn't matter and it'll be for the good, I'm cooked. My reputation is cooked. The show's reputation is cooked, because all we have right now is a possible thing that happened. And we have some things we're learning now that shouldn't have been, and they should have been in place. And so we have something here, but we would really have something here if Nick and Ryan decided we wanted to crawl into a hole and tell you inconsistencies and hide something that we know we're drawing dead as far as a poker show or our credibility. So literally, if I find something, just like I did with the chip grab, it's coming out. But it's going to come out when it's time.
What if you find something that is opposite of your incentives? Because I think like, I believe you that you want to maintain the integrity, but there's also incentives for you in this game. There's also incentives for you, meaning that like the incentive for you is to keep the live stream up because you love the live stream so much.
To keep it up forever, you mean? Like
forever.
After this?
That's my goal. To keep it running.
Sure, of
right?
course.
So what if you find something that doesn't align with that incentive?
Like, you have to give me an example. You mean find somebody cheated?
Yes.
That's what I was alluding to in my answer.
Right, but I'm saying that, so potential for finding someone cheating is also potential for getting your live stream shut down.
I don't care. I know people don't believe that. I don't care, because if I hide something that happened and it comes out later, we're done. And I am a firm believer that the truth will set me free. And here's this thing. I'll tell you this. If we find something and that doesn't allow us to keep going, then that's fine. Because I've been in business 30 years. I haven't hung on to every business. Sometimes things don't last forever, but I will tell you, if that happens, it's unfortunate, because I could tell you the heart and the breath of this company has nothing to do with this. And we are putting out the best show ever. And if that's the case, then it's going to be unfortunate for a lot of people.
I believe you when you say that.
Yeah. I'll take the risk.
Okay.
But now, I don't think that's going to happen. And if I'm wrong, then I'll deal with it.
Before I get into the investigation, how many decks of cards do you have at Hustler Casino?
Damn it. I meant to ask Ryan that. Remember I told you a little while ago, someone asked me that. Let's see if he... I don't know. Okay, I'll put it to you this way. And you have to quote me this way. I order 50 at a time.
How many times have you ordered cards?
2 or 3 times. Okay,
so you've got like at least 150 or at least 100, let's say.
Yeah, some of them we may not be using because they've been worn out.
Right. So what I'm alluding to is that, I've been trying to pick up on questions that people have asked in Joey's stream and different streams that I've watched in the Solve for Why stream, and like interesting questions that haven't been asked that, that I think are meaningful and I could ask you. So someone was saying that you guys only have 2 decks of cards, and someone could have calibrated those 2 decks and known the outcome or whatever. But you're saying you guys have like over 100 decks.
Correct.
And they're like $200 each, aren't they?
They are if you buy one deck, and the quantity I buy them, they're like $1.25, $1.50. I can't remember.
Yeah, because they have to have the RFID. Yeah.
But the decks that were used that day are in a plastic bag, sequestered, as Charles Liu likes to put it.
Sequestered as evidence?
We have it sequestered as evidence.
So, there's like I don't want to talk about everything that's been talked about for like the last 7 days on Joey's pod and stuff. But there's a few things I think that you have insight to that Joey doesn't have insight to that I really want to get to without retelling the entire story.
Sure.
And I think we've been talking about the investigation. So before I ask you about what the investigation is entailing and who's a part of it, I want to ask you if you've talked to the investigators about like how confident they are that they can find something if there is something. Because I think that there's like hardware involved if there is cheating. There's got to be someone's tapping into the live stream. Like, what kind of traces are left from those kinds of things? And like, did the companies tell you that they could find something potentially?
Yeah, no company has committed to say they for sure know they can find something. And it depends what we're looking for, because there's so many different variables, right? Like if, a lot of folks are talking about rings and cups and different things. I'm not saying that's not the case. People are saying mark cards. I'm not saying that's not the case. Some people are saying he saw the cards. Somebody did and gave a signal. I don't know. But I will say that there are some of them, like the seeing the hand and the mark cards and things, that I think are like way on the end of not possible. Okay.
Right.
But
I would
again,
agree.
I'm not going to ever say 100% on anything, because then I'd be a fool. But I could just say that if I had to bet something, I would say it's like on the part of like way
more,
over here.
If there was cheating, it would be like towards the more simple end rather than like an elaborate scheme, Ocean's 11.
And I think it may be a little harder with the advancement of the cheating to have something on the table and have something read and go to the glass. I just think that's a harder ask for me to think it's that, but it's going to be looked into. And there's no one that says they can know that for sure, but there's ways to see some things. Then there's the possibility of somebody maybe possibly tapping into your system from another place or this or that. I think that would be their best bet to find a marking or something. Although, as people had mentioned, continuing to run the show after, a lot of people believe will have lessened the chance of finding that. I haven't confirmed that with the cyber company that it is or isn't, but we did make a decision to keep playing because we didn't even know what happened at first, right? Like we were like, we don't know. Like the show played. And then there's the last thing that I don't think can be found in our system unless there's something I don't know. And I want to be careful what I say, because someone trolled me today on Twitter because I said my Twitter got hacked, and they're like, oh, a guy running a live stream, that should be running with all these technology things, didn't know what a double authentication thing is. I didn't know what that was. Who gives a fuck?
What did they do anything when they hacked you?
I don't know. That's what's spooky, is because I was like, saw my emails saying it got hacked. And so I don't know if it has something to do with this or someone, I don't know. It's just the timing is weird. It's like, I can't get your break right now. And so I went to get on, and all I could get on to was Hustler Casino Live Twitter. My other one was like off my app. I couldn't toggle over. I'm like, oh shit. And I called somebody that knew a little about it, and they're like, okay, let's do this. And I changed my password. He was able to walk me through, had to, because I don't know how to do it. So fine. If you think that's a negative to me, I'm a business owner. I'm not a fucking IT guy. And so that's why I'm being careful with these answers too, because I don't want to talk like, I know something that I don't. So that's what I'll say, as far as I know. And then I got back on and I looked through everything, and I didn't see any messages sent, unless they sent something and deleted them. So if anyone,
they probably wanted to see your DMs.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
And thank God, because I got no quirky DMs. I don't fool around like that, anything personal. And I don't have anything but some conversations that I've had with, like, hate to say it, but like Sean Deeb. But you know what? I'm glad if you look at my conversations, like, go for it, because you'll see me just saying, I don't know what the fuck right now. Here's what I'm doing, or here's what I think, or yeah, I'm looking into this. Like, it could be that, and maybe that's what they're looking for, but there's nothing in there to check. Me, it's just me, there's not much. So I look through that and I'm like, I don't even care if someone read this. There's nothing, and there's no posts. So I don't know.
So the investigation.
Yeah.
Who did you end up hiring?
Oh, I'll tell you one thing I wanted to say though, but then there's the other portion of that. It's not those things we talked about. And then it would be the really unfortunate thing of somebody like in my staff that was able to send that, here, look, I'm the show. If I had to think of one, that would be my most probable. It's the one I least want it to be. So,
are you investigating potentially Brian or someone else on your staff helping?
So here's how I'll answer that question. Okay. So the things we're doing, hired a law firm, needed to happen. Hired a PR company. Great. Doesn't matter. The stuff, and honestly, it's really crazy because every time the PR company tells me to do something, I do the opposite.
I was just about to say, there's no PR company that can wrangle you in.
Yeah, they can't. And God bless the person I'm working with, his soul. But like, I get something, and even with the attorney, they're like, no, like, say this. And I'm like, no.
I can't imagine his job.
Those aren't my words. And that does not put out this piece of information. They're like, well, you sure you want to do that? I'm like, yeah, I do. Like, I was told not to put out the thing about Brian for even maybe liability reasons for him or whatever, and I don't care. And what I mean I don't care is I'm not looking, first of all, that if I put the information out, his name's coming out, whether I put it out or not. Like that takes about 20 minutes for people to figure out who got fired. And so I just needed to put it out. But like my point is I'm erring on the side of not doing what PR companies tell me to do, because then that looks shady. To me, not that they're trying to be shady. They're just trying to cover your ass to not say something that will not work in your favor, but I'm willing for something not to work in my favor.
I think the poker community doesn't function as like an inauthentic, like Hollywood facade. We like the gritty truth. And I think you know that, and you know what we need in order to... So that the mob doesn't get angry. Yeah,
it's for the mob not to get angry, but it's for me to know that I'm doing what I said I'd do. And not, right. I know this sounds so cheesy because people say this, but when I look at myself in the mirror, I got to be able to look at myself. Like, even if I fucked up, you know? So we hired the law firm, we hired the other company I told you, and then I hired a company called Bullet Point, GSL Gaming something Labs. They get really upset with me because when I put out the first tweet, I didn't put their name exactly right, and for some reason that was really important to them. And the guy contacted me. He's like, "Dude, I gave you the name." I'm like, "Come on, man. I don't know. Bulletproof. Like whatever. People will figure it out."
They've been. And you still got it wrong right now.
Right now, I got it wrong. Yeah. What is it?
I don't.
I got it wrong. So whatever. I don't care. Like they'll be able to figure it out. Yeah.
And they're a poker entity.
They're gaming. Yeah, gaming. They have lots of background on the RFID. They have big accounts. They've been around 30 years. They're up there. They're like one of the top companies to hire to do this.
So what is their background or specific nature of their work to make them knowledgeable in live streams, poker specifically?
Yeah. Well, they have people on their staff that are familiar with my software, which don't ask me, is GSF. I don't know, whatever it is. They're familiar with my software. They're familiar with the process of RFIDing. They're familiar with those processes along with all the other stuff that they do and whatever. And so, and then part of their thing with me is not only are we going to, our goal is to come in there and to find something, yes, and then it's coming in there to change every single thing or protocol that I need to make me stronger, no matter what that is or what it costs. And then we're also have a handshake on ongoing that they will continue to parallel me with checks and weekly checks and monitoring and changing and coming in and looking for markers. So we're going to have their support ongoing as well. There's another piece of the investigation, but you might have questions about that.
So does this company know the signs? Like, have they ever worked with a live stream that has been compromised before?
Not that I'm aware of, but I don't want to say yes or no because I don't know.
I'm just wondering if, I guess it would be good to get them in here for an interview, because I would love to know what types of signs within the software or within the server that would be noticeable of a hacking.
Well, maybe at some point we'll do that.
Yeah.
I don't know yet.
I don't work with like servers myself, so I'm not super familiar.
A lot of the people in the poker community that knows some things about all this have like said, "Wow, that's a really great company you hired," and they're not cheap.
Yeah.
So.
Well.
Yeah.
Hopefully you'll get.
I mean, we're looking at a minimum of $100 here when this is all said and done. So, you know, it has to be
$100. That's a lot.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good to get a sandwich and a Coke. But so the other thing that I'm doing is this through my legal team, Shepard, Mullen, Richter, Hampton. I don't know if they're Richter Hampton anymore. They just have Shepard, Mullen.
You're getting everyone's name wrong.
Well, it's Shepard Mullen, but it used to be, because I used to work with them a long time ago, it's Shepard Mullen, Richter, Hampton, but now in their letterhead, it's just Shepard Mullen. So I don't know if Richter and Hampton died.
Maybe they got into a fight or they died.
Yeah, or something. They're old, you know.
He's like Mariano's surgeon. Yeah. Whose surgeon died?
Who?
Someone's surgeon died that we interviewed.
Who? I don't know.
Oh my gosh, you don't remember? It was a very great part of an interview. They got a cadaver in their elbow.
Oh, Mariano.
And then the surgeon died.
Oh, that's right. I do remember now. And then we asked him if his surgeon was in his elbow, if he was the cadaver.
Okay,
yeah,
so
all right.
Back to the law firm and no one dying potentially.
Yeah, so we hired Shepard Mullen, and part of their assistance with us, besides just guiding us, is I'm going to have them take over the employment aspect of our company, and then in that process, working with a very reputable investigation team.
Sorry, what do you mean they're taking over the employment aspect?
Meaning like, they're going forward, helping me with a lot of the employment stuff as far as, backgrounds and paperwork and different things. We do all the paperwork, we have all that, but to tighten up. But the real point to say is what they're going to do in the investigation portion is what the question is they are going to be working with a company that will be hired. Well, they're hired, but officially signed in the next couple of days to do a deeper than a law enforcement investigation. So the people that, I'm not going to name names, but the people that think need to be investigated, and including, when I say investigated or interviewed, including Robbie, they will be contacted. And if they're willing to participate, then they can. If they are willing to take a polygraph, it will be administered through that company.
Sorry, as of this point, no one's taken a polygraph?
No, there'd be no way to get that done by now.
Okay.
It's impossible. Because all the other things have to be set first. But that's why investigations take longer. They all don't happen.
I'm just curious. I think the people are curious about that.
And I also want to go on record and talk about polygraphs, not as an expert, but as my opinion. And then also say that if like Eric Pearson or anybody else wants to do mine through their company, I'm going to do one through my company as well. But if anyone else wants, because, the thought process will be, well, if Nick hired a company to do the polygraphs, well, he could control the narrative. I'll even tell them this: if they want to pay for all the polygraphs and they want to use my people and their people, so I can have both, because I believe through my investigator that I have somebody that's really good at this, top of their field. So I'm not going to go away from that. But for mine, and Ryan's, if somebody wants to do an independent one, I'm open to it.
I think that's fine if you want to do Eric's lie detector test, but I like the fact of, like, Eric was in the game, and I'm not saying Eric had anything to do with it.
I don't mean just Eric.
Right. Yeah. But what I'm just referencing right now, Eric putting out that tweet saying that he wants to put out a polygraph, but Eric was in the game, and I think it shouldn't be Eric's company or Eric's friend, or it should be an objective company doing the polygraphs if you're going to use them.
So I used his name because he came out and asked to pay for one for Robbie.
I don't care if he decided to pay for one, because he was in the game, and it would just be...
My point is I agree with your premise. I didn't think of that. I'm saying anyone. It could be Joey. It could be Matt Berkey. It could be
I don't think it should be any of them, to be honest with you. I think it should be a company that's independently agreed upon by everyone, rather than someone's company or someone's
how
recommend.
About a bunch of people, if they want to get together and administer mine, because I'm going to hire a company to do mine for other people. So let me get this out. So I'm just throwing that out there as for all the people that are going to say, well, what about this? Well, what if I'm open to whatever. Okay. So the investigative company is going to go out and they're going to interview people that I want them to interview, and anyone closely associated with this at any level to do a thorough investigation. They're going to be asked, and people who say polygraphs don't work, okay, that's fine. And they can send me, like, they're doing all their information about not being admissible and everything else about them. No problem. Not going to argue with your facts. But what I know about them is they have a way of bringing out the truth. Because if somebody doesn't want to take one, you have now a little bit more to say why. Because I know I'm innocent, so I'll take one. But I know that I worked for another company when I was young, and they sold TVs and appliances. I was like in my teens. I was delivering refrigerators and TVs and shit. And they asked all of us in the warehouse if we would voluntarily take a polygraph because they were having a lot of loss. Everybody that was innocent walked right in there and said, sure, I'll do it. And then you may have a small percentage that were guilty, or the ones that really want to stand on their principles and not be like accused or whatever. But you kind of narrowed down your field. Okay. So that's the first thing. The second thing is,
I just want to ask a question about the polygraph test.
Sure.
Who's going to put together the questions?
I don't know yet. We can also have the community do that.
Yeah. I like that idea.
Okay, cool. I'm cool with that. Yep. Then the other thing they're good for is whether what people want to believe it or not. Yeah, maybe a CIA agent or a well-trained person or someone can hold their emotions and they can beat it, or they can show less reaction. I'm fine with that. But I'll tell you this right now. If there's a person that has no experience in that and you hook that shit up to them and you ask them that direct question that they're guilty of, your body reacts. And so maybe that can't be something that can convict you in court because of the variables to it, fine. But what people have to understand in any investigation or anything like a polygraph, there are things that will lead up to markers that lead to a truth. Now, you may still be able to say, okay, I don't know, but then when you take that and you combine it with statements and you combine it with a video and you combine it with this, you have a totality of guilt or innocence. And so that's what they're used for. So this company will also be doing that with my staff and dealers and everyone else involved. And so the legal company is going to make sure that everyone is approached right. Everyone does it. There's a proper paperwork. We don't want to step on any employment rules. And at the same time, anyone that doesn't either works for me or doesn't, they don't have to take one.
Do you have definitions of guilt and non-guilt in this case?
I don't. Oh, you mean just my own opinion of what I define as guilt or not? Because I don't know what you mean.
Okay, so I guess to expand on my question, let's say you gave an employee a polygraph test.
Right.
They fail it.
Okay.
But they say, no, it's not that. Here's my story. Here, no, I didn't do this. At what point do you continue on? At what point do you fire them? At what point, like, how do you define guilt? And then, like, let's say someone like Robbie, let's say, I don't know if she will or not, but let's say she takes it and fails it. And then, but we still don't have, quote unquote, the physical smoking gun, like the potential thing that she had in her pocket or whatever the police would need to make an arrest. Do we, like, if we've defined her as guilty, but there's no criminal arrest, what happens to her? Does she get kicked out of Hustler? Does she not get on Hustler Casino Live anymore? Like, we've defined it. Like, we've noticed that there's a pattern. She failed the polygraph, but we don't have a smoking gun. Like, now what do we do? Now what are you going to do?
The answer to that is not one you're going to love because it's not juicy. It's going to determine later down the line when I take everything and put it together and sit with my legal team and find out what is best for our show and what is best for the community and what is legal and the least liability for us to do and not do. I don't have an answer to that yet. Okay.
And then I guess... are you saying that answer to both your employees and to your players?
I think employee will have to be handled differently than somebody outside. But then again, that's where I have to get with my legal team and figure out, if you're an at-will employee or if I feel I need to do this. And, so I don't think I can answer that yet until I get farther down the line. But I think that information will be absolutely useful in this, and how it's handled after I get it, I have to TBD it.
I mean, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I think that's
just
a
fair.
good answer.
That's just the truth. So.
Yeah, like, I often think about like how murky these waters are, and like, given again, like you talked about the Mike Postle trauma, and like that's my frame of reference. And unfortunately, I know people are probably tired of hearing it, but given that like he never was arrested, we as a poker community have made him guilty in our eyes, and he's not welcome probably in any poker rooms. And so like there is a defined guilt based off of our poker community, but that's not the same defined guilt as like the criminal law or DOJ would consider. And so that's what I'm saying. And then it's your decision as to what you want to make from that information or what you want to do.
Yes. And I don't know. So please forgive me on this answer. I don't know if we'll have the same, ability to have the same sample size for this as with the Postle situation.
We don't.
No,
we
I
don't.
Know. So I don't know if we can be as dogmatic as we are in the poker community about that, or how everyone is. So I don't know where that'll land. But and I also don't know where the other stuff you're asking will land. I mean, I just think it's reckless to say, yeah, this will happen or that won't happen, or no, we'll do this. First of all, I'm going to put I'm going to put the show number one. Time out. Integrity in this and the truth is number one. My show is number two.
The show doesn't run without integrity.
That's right. So that's why that's number
synonymous.
one. It's synonymous.
I know what you meant when you said that. Yeah.
So the truth, the show, and the rest has to be determined. Meaning, like, I'm going to take the human aspect into this. I do care about people. That will play into decisions. It will play, but it won't. That human aspect will not get in the way of what's best for the show and the integrity of the show.
Can we take a 2-minute bathroom break because I'm going to burst?
young buck.
You're knee high to a grasshopper.
We're good?
All right. So bathroom break's done. It's a long one.
Yeah.
I had some shit coffee at the airport. This is my good coffee, but the shit coffee made me.
Don't.
No. I'm not talking about, I'm not Melissa. I'm not talking about number two.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Just lots of water, lots
Got
of
it.
coffee and water. So listen, back to the investigation. Are you and Ryan equally going to be investigated? Like, are they looking into you the same way they would any employee that's working in tech?
Well, let's be fair about this.
Yeah.
Yeah, but who will take that for truth? So that's why I say, like, if any person that I trust that through my legal team, and that would just be somebody, wants to investigate me and they want me to take a polygraph, the answer is yes.
Well, what I'm saying is that you've hired an external objective firm, I'm assuming. Yeah. And I'm assuming that they're going to do the same scrutiny to you as they would with employees.
But the key word is I hired.
Right.
Right. So that's why I'm saying, yes, I'm going to turn over my phone records. I'm going to accept any polygraph that wants to be given to me. And yes,
you love polygraphs.
No, I'm just saying, like, I want people to,
tool.
yeah, it's just one tool.
Yeah.
It's not that I love them, because I don't, it's just, so the answer is yes, they are. But then that's why I want to throw the extra caveat out there that if anyone wants to see that part of the investigation, or they want to privately look at my phone records, because phone records are used to see if there's communication with people, what it was, that type of thing. And so, yeah, the answer is yes.
Do you have anything else you want to tell us about the investigation?
No, you'd have to ring my bell to make me remember something else, but I think that's it.
Ring your bell?
Yeah. Like, ding dong, you remember this? I'm like, oh yeah, that.
So curious as to if you can give our viewers a time frame as to when you would expect to know something.
I don't know.
I mean, give us a like.
My thought,
is it
what
a
I
month
think, probably,
or 3 months?
I think a month, 2 would be bullish.
It's not going to be a year.
No,
it's going to be like a couple months.
No, but I mean, let's think it out. I won't have the cyber company in until next Friday. My investigator was just texting me now when I went to the bathroom and said this part of the thing is starting now. So, like, these things are going to take time. I mean, to get out and to interview people, to interview staff, to do the paperwork legally to make sure you interview these people properly and that their rights are considered and that you're not making them do anything that you shouldn't as an employer and as a third party. So those things have to move how they move, and whatever they take. So I'm guessing with my 30 to 60 days. It's a guess. I mean, a year, no, it won't take that long.
So I'm just curious if you can tell us what the investigation will entail and if there's going to be any like data taken from the games to see if there's anything outstanding from Robbie or Rip or anyone.
All the video. Yeah. I mean, all the video will be scrutinized on and off the felt for any time any individuals that are considered in this or even played in the game will be scrutinized. We will have watched you everywhere you are in the casino and parking lot, probably a couple weeks before this and a couple weeks, or leading up to the day. So yes, of course, all video footage is being looked at. Everything is. Everyone's banking within the casino. Withdrawals and deposits. Sure. So
I saw a lot of people posting online saying that basically asking why you guys didn't stop the live stream when this all happened.
Sure. That's easier said than done in this respect. Okay, let's look at it. Situation happens. Nobody knows what the hell's going on at first. Like, legitimately, like, Ryan was asked to come down in the booth because...
And you weren't there.
I wasn't.
Yeah.
Because Garrett wanted to talk to him. That conversation could have taken 30 minutes. I don't know. Then they want to talk to Robbie. Then they go and around, a little bit farther down the casino and they have that conversation. I don't know how long that took.
Let's just clarify, because I've heard a lot of people say she was taken in some back room. I've been in that back hallway.
That's not the hallway.
It's not the hallway?
No.
Where the elevators are?
Oh, I apologize. That is the hallway.
Yeah. It's not like a room per se. Like people can go there. She wasn't like,
oh no,
she never said she was like locked in a room or anything, but like it wasn't like a place where like you can't leave from.
We'll talk. Yeah, I'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah.
Well, you want me to do that now, or you want me to? What we were on the first thing.
Whatever however you want to do it.
So I have a video that I made while I was there this weekend, or maybe Thursday or Friday. I don't know. Fucking like I tell you, I don't know. But in the last few days, I made a video walking from the stage ish to the hallway there in speaking of.
Where's the video going to be available?
I don't know yet. I'm going to ask my legal team if I could put it out, because I want that to be, even for Garrett's sake, I want that to come out. Like that's just an untruth in my opinion of why I think it is. And what's
an untruth?
I'll tell you. So it's not my opinion. Like the video shows me that like the whole casino is dark, meaning like it's not a lit, like where you walk in like with these lights.
Can I just describe the casino from my perspective?
Yeah, sure.
It's sexy.
Yeah.
Like it's dim, it's velvety,
it's velvety.
It's purplish. It's like got all these like, it's like a sultry bedroom, and it's like very hustler brand.
Totally.
looking.
And when I play off stream, I could hardly see the cards.
Yeah,
because like, you know,
use
I don't wear these.
Cards
I don't wear these. I wear my
I don't
regular
like the
glasses.
live stream big
I know
print.
You don't.
I don't like
which is crazy to me, but that's another show. So
it's dark in there. It's dark everywhere through Hustler.
So I show the video, and I'm going to ask if I could put it out, because I want to put it out, and I'll talk more about that piece too, because I think it's okay to talk about this. And so I went and I walked all the way to where the part is. I showed the open where they were standing, turn it around and show there's an open area that goes to like a kitchen. Then you go down the hall, you see the elevators. Then I turn it around, you see all the tables. So it by no means is sequestered. It's just a tad more private than standing next to the table. And so, you know, in fairness, and again, I can't speak to how she felt. That would be reckless of me. I'm not saying she didn't feel this or intimidated or not, whatever. She didn't say she did at the time when that I was talking to her. But
did she appear as though she was intimidated to you from your perspective when you were there?
No, but that's just my perspective.
Right. So I'm just asking for your perspective.
My perspective.
She's allowed to have
when
hers.
I got there, I wasn't there when the conversation took place.
But when you were there and she was, you were talking to her, you did not. From your perspective, because you've been a police officer, you've seen people act like scared or intimidated. From your perspective?
No, when I first had a conversation with her, I wasn't able to get out a word. She was a little bit more aggressive with me. She was not intimidated by me.
Okay.
Meaning when I say aggressive, let me be clear, defensive. Like before I could open my mouth, it was like, oh, so you're here because you think I did? I'm like, no, I'm here because something happened and I was supposed to be having dinner with my daughters. I was supposed to be making them pasta. We were going to watch the football game, the Dolphins and whoever. It was like a Thursday night, and they weren't going to watch it. They just have to by default watch it while we're eating.
Because Dad makes them food.
Because I'm not going to make them food. They're going to watch the game. So, but then I got rerouted and sat in hour traffic. So I got there about an hour and a half later than the incident happened, I think. And so from my perspective, when I was there, I didn't see anyone intimidated. But again, I'm not trying to defend that point. I'm just saying from my perspective.
I think we all want to know everyone's perspective.
Yeah, but again, you don't know how someone's feeling, right?
Right. Yeah. I think we want to know that you're sitting here. We want to know what your perspective was on it. Sure. And I think we're clear, everyone is clear that Robbie is allowed to feel the way she felt. Right. And the way she felt was correct for her. Yeah. And no one's taking that away from her.
And if you can remember what that question is, I'll get back to it, but I'll lead to another point.
Right.
Real quick, okay? You'll remember what it is?
The original question that we're talking about right now?
Yeah, the one before we got to the hallway.
Yeah, I asked you why you kept going with the live stream.
Okay, so we'll get back to that. Yeah. Okay, I didn't remember. So, you know, this part I'll just vaguely go over. When I got there, this was just happening, and I guess this goes to the question. Let me just answer this. It was because that process took a while and the players kept playing. Nobody knew what was happening. None of the players even thought there was a problem. Matter of fact, if you watch their interviews or talk to them, I'm not saying they feel that way now, but in the heat of it, they didn't even think anything was wrong. Again, that was just in the initial reaction because nobody thought anything was quirky because they were in the heat of the game. They weren't looking at it from the view, right? So that's not saying anything that they feel that way now. And so probably a good hour went by anyways, and the game was still going. And the reason we continued to play the game is because not for any other reason. Of course, if we stop the game or we stop the stream for 2 or 3 weeks a month, there is big monetary reasons that's not good for us, but that's not the reason. Although that would have been considered, believe me. But the reason is because we didn't know what happened. We just have one person saying one thing and nobody else saying it at the time. We have. You mean
nobody else like at the table?
We don't have the poker community involved. We have one person who feels there was something wrong, and he has every right to feel that way. It's his business. And then we don't have anyone else who understands what the fuck was going on. Like all the people at the table didn't think there was anything wrong at the time. Ryan's up there directing, although even Bart goes, "Oh my God, she called." Like, every poker player knows what the fuck, right? But it's not clear at this point. No one knows if it was just a mistake. If it was a 3, we thought, no one knows. So you have to understand that in that moment, you just don't go, "Oh, let's just shut our show down," because we don't know there's this big scandal right now. We just think there's somebody that thinks something and another player that says no. And at that point, the show's going, and so you have another hour left or whatever it is. Don't quote me on the time, but and I think the game ended. Normally, a game like that would go longer, but we just
and you weren't even there yet.
No,
and Ryan's trying to run the booth.
Ryan's trying to run the booth. The game's still going. He's directing. Now he's talking to 2 people. He's got his headset on. He's trying to figure out, what's going on. His whole goal is to like make it right, like in the sense that like to keep the game going, and we don't know that it's like this yet, and so that's why.
What about the day after?
To run the game?
Yeah.
Well, the decision was made there by the fact that the game ran. And if it wasn't stopped on the spot, whether you run it for 4 hours more, 2 hours more, or 10 hours more, I think. I don't know.
the next day. Well,
right. So we've already ran the stream the first day. So we just continued to run the stream because still at this point, we've already finished the other day. Nothing was stopped and preserved, And so we just ran it. We ran it. I mean, we're running a business, and we're, immediately we brought in the wands. Immediately,
the Garrett wands.
Yeah, you can't make that up. And I didn't buy those as a troll. I probably should tape one and call one Robbie, one Garrett, but no, I'm joking.
Oh my gosh.
They were the best ones that they make that you can buy that off whatever. And they were literally the most expensive. And
were you just hating the fact that they had Garrett written on them?
I'd rather it not.
It was a nice troll online.
But I don't want to buy the cheap one, so it's just that's how the world works. You just can't make it up.
Looking back, do you have any regrets about continuing the live stream the next day? Like, do you think it was handled as best it could be?
I don't think anything was handled the best it could be. Like, for example, we probably should have a protocol in place if this happens again, the protocol, not just for shutting the stream down or not, because I don't think you could shut the stream down every time someone says, "I think I was cheated." Mm-hmm. You just can't do that.
Right.
It's just, you just can't. But I think there should be protocols. Like at this point, the protocol should be Ryan talks to someone for 2 minutes, and if that player thinks something happened, they should go home, and then we should investigate it later. I don't think there should be, a 2-hour conversation, an hour conversation. I don't think it should become a big thing, a drama in the casino. I don't think anyone should be, and this wasn't part of us, it was them, should be exchanging money. And if they do, it's between them. That's why Ryan walked away. So I don't think anyone expected this to happen and then didn't expect it to be the magnitude it is. So when you haven't been through something like this, I think we'll be better at it if it happens again. But I don't think you can, it just wasn't handled perfect. I don't think, I think, and I'm not speaking for him, I don't know. But I just think if Garrett wanted to handle it different, maybe just have said it, made the complaint and went home, and you still can investigate this, you still can go after the money later. There's a lot of things. I just, I think that might have been a better decision, but he may disagree with that, and I don't know. And I wasn't in that situation. I don't know.
From my perspective, and again, I don't want to speak for Garrett, and he has made a statement, which we can discuss. I think his statement was very thorough, and I think everyone's read it by now. But from my perspective, we all have seen that people just don't receive their payment back after they've been cheated. Like in the Mike Postle stuff, he's never going to pay anyone back. And it feels to me like in that moment, it was Garrett's opportunity to get back his money from someone he believed was cheating him.
Sure.
And that was like the best course of action.
Sure.
And just again, like, it's hard for me to not be biased because of the situation I was previously
Biased
in.
that he should get his money.
Biased as in having, like, when I talk about Garrett, I am more likely, like, I think he's a bit more right about the situation. Like, I'm leaning towards thinking that something nefarious happened. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I understand. Yeah, that's definitely.
And I also, like, as a background with Garrett, I know that he's a very well-regarded player within our community. I think, like, his reputation, your reputation in poker, it goes far. And I feel like if he was a terrible player, if he was terrible to people, we would kind of know about it. And I've heard nothing but good things about him. And so, like, I take him at his word on this one. He's been consistent throughout his career, and I haven't heard of him doing, like, anything scummy. Like, I don't know him personally, but, like, from a poker reputation, and I'm a little connected in the community. I hear things about everyone. I usually will text, like, hey, is this person legit? They want to know this, blah, blah, blah. And, like, I've heard nothing but good stuff about him. So I when he first came out with his accusations, I was like, hey, let's take a step back. Like, this guy is a prominent member of our community. He's, like, never scumbagged anyone. Like, there must be a reason for this. And that's all. That's all I've done.
Well, you can definitely give some credibility to that, but I will say that, and let me just preface, like Garrett, friend of mine, I hope it works out for him. I hope it works out for both of them, but I hope it works out for them, right? Like, I don't wish anyone ill will, especially don't wish Garrett any. I don't want people to think because I know Garrett better that I'm just on his side. So this isn't a Switzerland take. This is just the truth. I agree with your statements, all of them about him and his integrity, and he's never done anything scummy. Yes. But the one statement that I would disagree with is I'm not just going to lean on his side because of his stellar reputation, because he could truly believe what he thinks, but it may not be true.
No, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
And I guess like, what I'm, just to, like, delineate or clarify my point, it's like, I take what he says with I take it seriously.
Yep.
Because he's never given us a reason. I know from his perspective, this is a serious accusation, and he's probably got a lot of reasons why he did this.
Right. And
then as I've gone through every single hand, I've watched every single hand that Robbie has played. I have a spreadsheet. I am, something doesn't look right to me. So
well, I'm just saying 2 points. One is, like, just to be redundant. Yeah, I get it's the totality of information for you, but I just can't stand by him because of his very good resume, right? But
and you shouldn't.
No,
you have to be objective here, because especially coming from your perspective, if you were like, yeah, fuck, it's Garrett because Garrett's been my, like, long-standing customer, I would be like, yo, like, this is you have to be objective. You have to look at every, So I think it's good. I hate agreeing with you because people are like, you're a shill for Nick Vertucci, and I'm like, no, I think I tell you when I disagree with you.
I think you're making your point well, that you're going to be independent. And if you agree with me, you should agree with me if you believe it.
You have way more incentive to be independent and objective and not take a side than I do.
Yeah, for sure. And one thing I will say about Garrett that's true, that has nothing to do with taking a side. I have never seen Garrett, besides just the human aspect of losing a big pot, not liking it, maybe taking a few seconds to, shake off the sting. But I have never seen Garrett upset about losing a pot.
Yeah.
I've never seen Garrett be an asshole because he lost a pot. I've never seen Garrett ask for anything just because he lost a pot. He's never been a sore loser. He doesn't like losing, but he's never been a sore loser. So I know and believe that Garrett believes it. So for him to have, like, been just to be who he was in the moment, he really truly believed it. So that I know as a belief, because you can even see Garrett's reaction during the hand when he kind of knew he missed both spots. He just was like, oh God, like, fuck, that's you too. Like, he was smiling, like he knows he was fucked. He was going to lose the hand for her to call. Then of course he saw the jack clubs in the 4 in their offsuit, and his very well-trained poker brain couldn't compute it. And that's why we're here.
Yeah, we all saw him.
Yeah, he was processing. It was like a computer processing the information while the chips were being counted.
His brain was exploding in his head.
His brain was exploding, and he was thinking into a really deep think spot at that point. But my point is Garrett's never acted that way, and Garrett's lost bigger pots than that.
So speaking of Garrett and Robbie and anyone else who people think is involved, are they allowed to play on Hustler Casino Live right now?
Right now, it's not that anyone isn't allowed to play. What the thing is it wouldn't be in anyone's best interest, including the show or theirs. So we are taking a break from that while we're doing our investigation. And then whatever we decide as a company later will be our decision. What is absolutely best for our show, nobody else will be considered except our show.
So who right now is taking a break from Hustler Casino
Well, there's
Live?
only really 3 people involved in this that are involved. Everyone else is speculative. You can speculate. I don't want to say the names.
I'm not saying involved or speculative. I'm just saying who right now are you recommending take a break from Hustler Casino Live?
So I'm going to answer it the same way. The people that are involved in this right now are, when I say involved in this, let me be clear, who are involved in this situation are Garrett, Robbie, and Jacob.
Rip.
That's it. Rip. Everybody else, whether you think this person may have known her, this person went there with this those people were they are only involved in, plus everyone's getting looked at. But those are the 3 people that were involved in the money transaction, in one side being accused of this and the other side accusing. Other than that, everybody else is in play to play, and I don't think any of those people would want to play right now. I don't think Garrett would want to at this point. He probably wants to take a good break. And so this is not a reflection on the word banned or anything else. It is that it would be ridiculous for any of those players to return until this is over with.
So let me ask you, someone like Beans, who has, money somehow. He got money from Robbie. It came out on Joey's podcast last night that he got money from Robbie, like I think they said $20K or something like that. So we don't know that, but he seems to be involved. He seems to be calling in all the time. He can't answer questions about their monetary exchanges. Somehow it's none of anyone's business, but yet he's calling into every show. So someone like that, is he welcome on Hustler Casino Live right now? And then part 2, because you love to do 100 questions at once. If he declined taking a lie detector test, would you ask him to not play on Hustler?
No, I would not ask anyone to not play on Hustler because they declined a polygraph. But I will. But that particular person is to be determined. I don't know yet. That's just fair. I'm not trying to avoid your question at all. It's just right now, all of that is to be determined, and I think would be reckless for me to take a stance on it. But we'll probably find out.
Okay.
The answer to that.
And I think that's fair. And people again realize that this man is the owner of Hustler Casino Live, and like you have a legal team, and
right. And
I'm trying to help everyone watching because I want to know all of this too. But unfortunately, like. You can't tell me everything.
Right.
So.
I mean, Bean was on Joey's show last night and said he would take it. So we'll see. You could say whatever you want. That's all I have to say.
I just am not a fan. I'm not a fan. I don't like the fact that somehow he received $20K from her, but he doesn't know her, but he's on the show and he's vouching for her. He got her in the game, but he doesn't know her. But she didn't, clearly nothing happened, but he doesn't know her, but he knows, but he doesn't. And then, the $20K, I can vouch for her. But I have $20K. Well, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about the amount. Like someone somehow dug and found out the amount, and like everything that comes out of his mouth is just like a little off. And then Tom Dwan offered to give him like $1,000 for, even jumping on or whatever. And he's like, can you make it 5,000? It's my son's birthday. I'm like, the hell are you doing begging for money? Like, it's just like, so it's so, I don't know. It's just so scummy. Like, I don't know. I just don't like it. I'm sorry. I know my personal bias is coming through.
Make you a deal. No, go ahead. Finish.
No. That's it. That's all I want to say. I'm trying not to be a biased person in this process, but because I played with him and just like the things he says, it just like rubs me the wrong way. And I feel like an honest person doesn't have to say, hey, I'm an honest person. I'm an honest person. A nice person doesn't have to be like, I'm a nice person. I'm a nice person. Like if you have a good reputation in poker, we all know that.
Right. So I'll tell you this. Before we got on to start this show, I told you could say whatever you want.
Yeah.
Anything. You could give your opinion, biased or unbiased. You could ask me anything. If I can answer, I'll answer. I want to answer. So you can say anything you want, but I'll make you a deal. When this is over, and I'm talking over, like it's past us, the legal part of it, all the emotional part of it, where there's like, it's completely in a file. I will do another show with you and I will tell you what I think of all these people. Just I can't do that right now.
I love it.
Fair?
Yeah.
And I'm going to say it one more time. I'm going to treat Beans, Robbie, Jacob, Garrett, any other cursory person to this the same way that I'm going to treat the next one. I'm going to treat them with respect. I'm going to assume they're innocent until proven guilty, no matter what I may think or not think, or what my things say or my instincts. And I'm going to proceed exactly like that, morally and legally. But like I said, when this is over, regardless of the results, good, bad, indifferent, or unconclusive, I will tell you what I think of these people.
Okay, that's fair.
Okay.
We all can't wait for that.
Yeah, that'll be a good one.
So I want to talk about, now that we're still running the Hustler live stream.
Yeah.
And we saw the Garrett wands.
Yeah.
I was going to make
Do it.
I was going to make a joke.
Go
I don't
for
know
it.
if this is appropriate. I've always been wanting to get wanded by Garrett.
Well, I'll let you take one home and then you can go further with it. Oh my God. That's pretty funny. Like there's got to be some
I'm
levity,
sorry,
right?
Garrett. I know you're married. I'm totally joking.
Yeah, sorry. Jen.
So I want to know about security now and the things you have done. We know that the wands are out, but like what other things are you doing or are moving towards doing to increase the security so that nothing potentially happens?
Let me just tell you what we're moving towards and all the things that are happening, and instead of specifically saying
and
this.
I'm curious about like, are you allowed, you know what, I'll save that for after, because I want to ask if you're in a situation like this Robbie situation, are you guys allowed to search people? Yeah. After something comes up like this, after an accusation. Sure. Like if someone like grabs a handful of chips across the counter in the casino and puts them in their pocket, are you allowed to search them? Well, I'm assuming they'd get arrested. Like what's the boundary of being allowed to search someone and you
consent?
Can't?
But we're going to have paperwork too. So our paperwork will probably, this isn't like the end all of what it'll be, but some of the things we'll have on it, we have on. They have to sign now that the content belongs to us and we can show anything. So they don't have any rights to they don't have any copyright to their face, their video, or anything. It's ours. So they sign that now. Going forward, we will have something in there about two people playing in a game that have financial interests staked. We're going to have them sign that there's not that happening. And if we do know someone's doing that, they won't be able to play together. So that's the second thing. The third thing that will be on that paperwork that you just mentioned is, we will also do a consent thing that says you're going to be wanded every time you come into, and this, by the way, this wand picks up not only metal, it picks up copper, picks up any RFID type of copper stuff. So it's pretty thorough. But yes, if like when they come in.
Is that what the company told you?
Yes.
Okay.
And so the other things that will happen is like when you say search, like for example, if you have stuff in your pocket, you're going to take it out. Like you're going to take stuff out of your pocket, you're going to consent to that. And so as they're coming in, if there's something in their pocket that show us what it is. And if it's something that can't be in there, like keys or some kind of stopwatch, or I don't know, even now these little card protectors probably got to go. I don't see a lot of players with them, but you know what I mean, like shit like that. Like Chris played the other day and he couldn't put his rabbit's foot and his crown on the table.
Yeah,
he always puts that shit on there. You can't bring in your own cup, even if it's plastic.
That's good. I like that.
Yeah, you can't bring in a tumbler. Your bags.
The casino will give you all the water and whatever you want to drink. Yeah,
none of that shit's coming in. We have a set of lockers now. We're going to put a set of bigger lockers somewhere. I don't know exactly, where each player can have their locker and a lock. And that's where, because they carry a lot of stuff in their bag. So I think it needs to be somewhere really close so it's in sight to them.
I think inside the room, like you could have some matte black lockers in the back.
Well, we can, but respectfully, Mrs. Flint, anything you put around there, like even though in this case she should consider that, but she is so like a part of our agreement is nothing cosmetic is done until she approves it. Like that is her thing. So she will have to, but we have to figure that out. But point is, who cares? That's just a detail. Point is they're going to have a locker and their bags are going to be kept in there under lock and under camera and lock. So they'll be safe because we can't have bags in there anymore with all their stuff. Right now, what we've done is we put them in the back of the room in the corner the last couple times we played.
The one where the security guard sits?
We're trying to get, in the room. But like in the very, very right corner, because we couldn't put them by the security guard because they have stuff in their bag. So they at least need to see a line of sight to their shit.
Right.
Until we get it, right? So that's going to be the case. There's nothing in there. You will be wanted and checked every single time you come in and out of there.
Are you going to check people's pockets?
Well, check people's pockets, just like there's a way to check pockets. Like you could do a cursory search. As a cop, I could tell you can check on the outside for something. And then if there's something, you'd make them take it out, right? Like take it out.
Would you not let someone on the stream who refuses to be wanded or refuses to take things out?
You can't play. Just like we had, I had one player, doesn't matter, no one knows who he is. And then I had Phil Ivey, who did not want to give up his phone because he likes to bet sports. I don't think that's a secret. And we had Phil Ivey. And he's like, I want to keep my phone. We're like, fuck, no. And cringed, because we didn't want him to leave, right? And he gave it up, and he was in turmoil the whole first time he played because he didn't have it. He had to keep getting up and going to make. So the answer is no.
Oh, that's why he kept getting up.
Yeah. So the answer is no.
It's so funny. Like, did anyone notice that Phil Ivey played that week? It's just
that was the whole point of it, and this happens with Phil Ivey in the game, But yeah, I don't even know that I didn't even remember until you just said it. So because there's so much going on, but yeah, no. No, you want to play? We're going to have a new set of protocols. The same thing. We're going to have new protocols in our room. We're probably going to move equipment around. We're probably going to move different cameras around in different places, but we have to be careful with cameras in control room because that's more ways you can see into like the monitors. So we have a lot of changes that are being made. They just are in the process of happening, and we're doing the best we can while all these things get implemented. But I could tell you this, a month from now, and this is going to be way more secure now in some ways just from the little shit we're doing, but I'm talking very soon from now. Like I'm never going to ever be an idiot and say, oh, we'll be bulletproof, no pun in the company. We'll never, I don't think anyone could say that. I think if somebody is sophisticated enough wants to put together some kind of scheme, maybe that could happen. But I'm going to tell you this, we are literally going to spend as much time, energy, and resources on making sure that every single thing is upgraded, protected, every protocol. Probably be annoying, kind of. I mean, even I had a couple players say like they like it, but they're like, oh shit, like, like this was like kind of cool. Like we're kind of a family. Like we come in and da-da-da. And now it's like, if your shoes beep, you got to take them off. Well, just make sure you take a shower because they're coming off. So it's like, we have to know. Now, we're not going to go any further with searches. I mean, if someone wants to stick something up their fucking ass, I'm sorry. I don't know. I'm not going to look in their ass. Well, it depends. But generally speaking, majority of I know who plays on my show, no.
Call me Phil Ivey.
Oh my God, you and your wands. But
no, so as far as security, so we know the player security is going up. Your staff, are they going to be under the same sort of security measures?
More.
So can the staff bring their cell phones up into the tech booth?
They never been able to.
They haven't. So I can confirm I did commentary the day I got roasted to to the point of actually sometimes a little being sensitive about it, but that's fine.
Which is rare because usually you take it pretty well.
I mostly took it well, but man, they did a good job.
No, there's a point where you're like, I can't take it anymore.
They did a hell of a job.
Welcome
10 out of 10.
Welcome to my world.
10 out of 10 chat pros.
Yeah.
But I was not allowed to have my phone with me. And it was like a 6 or 7 hour stream.
Mm-hmm.
And the only visitor I had, I felt like I was in jail. The only visitor I had was Double M. Nice guy.
Oh, but you like that because isn't he someone you want to wand?
No.
Okay.
I'm joking, everybody. Calm down. I don't want, and the whole Andy thing, your editor, just now everyone's like, Andy's playing Andy. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you guys.
Lean into it. No pun.
I know. But so no one's allowed to have cell phones. Are they allowed smartwatches in the tech booth? Are they allowed
or at the table?
What about a bag, a lunch, or something?
We've had bags that have been brought up there, and
Do
they're
the
never
bags get checked?
There's times they haven't been checked.
Are they going to be now?
They're not allowed up there.
Okay. Any other things you want to add about the security measures?
No, I think we covered it.
I just, for people who haven't been to Hustler, there's like multiple security steps that you go through. The main doors you go through, you have to go through security. I don't know if you sign in. I don't think you sign in. You
put your ID on the thing and it reads your information.
Right. Yeah, that's what it is. And then they checked my bag the first time I went there. And so yeah, there's a security measure, and then there'll be another security measure before the live stream. If someone leaves the live stream to go to the bathroom,
they go through the same process.
You're going to get TSA in here to help us out?
TSA, we're going to do better than that. Jeez. You could fucking drive a tank through TSA.
So, since we're talking about the tech booth.
Yeah.
Brian.
Okay.
Did you watch Doug's video?
Yes, once.
The last one?
Yeah, I watched it once. I didn't scrutinize it, but I watched it once. Yes, I watched it.
The very last one, where he talked about Brian's desk.
The last one, yes.
Yeah, because he put out like 3.
He did?
He put out like 3 in the past week.
Well, the one with the desk, was there any after that?
No, that one was yesterday.
I don't know. I watched that one.
So, what are your thoughts on Brian's desk and him potentially could have done something?
Yeah, here's just the truth. The truth is, it's hard to explain unless you show the diagram of it. But 2 or 3 weeks ago, don't quote me, I think it was the night I was commentating on a show. So whatever night that was, the last time, I guess he moved one of the desks in a different angle because it is pretty tight up there, and he moved it and put some of the comms in some different places, and then he took a filing cabinet that was already there and he moved it closer to the desk. So I guess you could say in theory he made it harder to see that area from the one camera that's going this way. And so the real true answer is no one even thought about it. No one even paid attention to it because it's just like one little minor move or whatever. So when Doug, for those of you, I don't know if I said this, Doug did come up. We showed him everything. And now Doug runs a stream, so he can empathize with some of the challenges we have up there with cameras and where you can put them where you can't because there's still security.
The limitations on space.
Yeah, his words were, I empathize with you on this because I'm going through the same decisions that are tough. One offsets the other, and this is better for this, but then it's worse for that, right? Okay, so... And again, someone mentioned to me, I won't say who today, but you think it's a problem he was up in your booth and then he played that night? No, because he was only up there with Ryan and I, and we only walked up and stood in the middle, and he went like this and looked around, and then we pulled 3 chairs to the middle and sat there and talked, and then we left. So the answer is no, but we were talking about it, and he's like saw that, or he was asking about this, and somehow it came up that was moved, and he's like, oh wow, that's really like an important piece. And I knew he was going to go talk about everything he said, and he's like, I have to talk about that. I said, go ahead, do it. Like, it's true, that happened. Like, that's what I'm trying to say. Like, you do not let Doug Polk in if you have something to hide.
Right.
He's not the right guy for that, right? And by the way, I'm fucking sick about this. I think I like Doug.
Yeah, that was my next question. Are you reading my mind now?
No.
So there used to be a little bit of animosity.
Yeah. Right. We had a thing.
Just a background. I really like Doug. Mm-hmm. I've been a fan of Doug. Doug reached out to me during the Apostle stuff, and I've had conversations with him. I like him. Look, the feminists are going to hate me. I don't think Doug is a misogynist in any way. I think Doug is a guy who wants to dig through all the bullshit and get to the truth about everything he's talking about. And he comes across as a little harsh, but I don't think he's a misogynist or anything. And I hated, honestly, that I'm gonna get backlash. I hated how some women turned this into like misogyny, that there's misogyny because she's a woman. No, this would have been probably worse if it was like a guy, because like they would assume that the guy clearly knew that the Jack 4 was a bad call on the turn. But that being said, I think Doug has done a really good job trying to uncover what's going on here. And I think he's pretty fair from my perspective. So now you're starting to see my perspective or like him, or what is it?
Yeah. So so let me say this before I get to that. Doug and I had our thing. It's who cares what it is? I'm not even going to repeat it. And, he kind of went, off on me a little bit on Twitter or whatever. And I got to be honest, when I first knew I was coming down to meet him that day, because I had to come to the casino for these meetings and the other interviews that I told you about, and he was there. And he did get brought into that while he was there organically, because we just said, fuck it, let's show him everything. But my first thing was, I got to meet this guy. How am I not going to slap him when I see him? Because he just wasn't my favorite person. And I've been very vocal before too, where I think like, you got to be very careful with your videos, because I'm a very big believer in innocent to proven guilty. I really am. Like, to ruin someone's reputation, anybody, this isn't about Doug, I'm saying anybody to do that. Like, even if the whole public community, the consensus is, pick any name, Bob, some guy, and everyone goes after him because he looks so guilty of something for like 3 weeks. As soon as Bob's vindicated, that's still with him for the rest of his life.
Why do you think it took me so long to go public with Mike Postle?
Yeah.
Because I was like, I don't want to ruin someone's reputation in case I'm wrong. I'm
very sensitive to that, and that's why Doug and I got into it a little bit. I was on a sleep chocolate. I tweeted something, and he didn't like it. So, okay, whatever. So he shows up. We meet. It's not like it was love at first sight, but all I could tell you is, as I got to know him during this process, spent a lot of time with him. Well, depends what you think a lot of time is, enough time. And he just is legit. Like, he is looking for the truth. He's very opinionated. That's his right. But he is looking for the truth. He was very fair. And we were fair with him back. Like he said, like, I got to say that. And I'm like, okay, you expected me to say don't? Because I'm not. Say it. And I like him. Like, I legitimately have changed my opinion of him, meeting him. And I think he made the comment too, shit, like, kind of getting to know you in person, I have a totally different read on you. Like, I think I like you too. And I'm like, I mean, it wasn't like a moment. We didn't like go in 80-20 or anything, but I just like the guy. So, and I think he's being fair about it, and whatever, like, he does great content. There, I said it.
Doug Polk.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. That's just true too. If I didn't mean that, I'd just stay off the subject. So.
Can I just say a few more words, because it's related to Doug, about the feminist stuff that happened with this whole...
That's your call, yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like me being the woman here, well, you're kind of a woman, but...
Yeah, inside.
Yeah, that is true.
It is fucking true.
I felt, and this is just like me making a comment, I feel like a lot of times, and as women, we go through a lot of misogyny in poker, but sometimes... we don't have to, we could just step back and objectively say like, hey, there might be something going on here, and it may not be because this person is a woman. And I think those arguments slow down the direction of truth, if you know what I mean. Like, it just becomes a lot of noise. If there was clear misogyny, like, I think that it would be a little more noticeable. It would be in a different spot. It would be like consistent throughout like all 3 games. You know what I mean? But
misogyny with who?
With Garrett, or like Garrett calling out Robbie because she was a woman. Yeah. I don't think that was the case. And like, there's no hit again, like Garrett's been on live streams forever. Garrett's like, came here, we interviewed him. Like, if he was a misogynist, like it would be very prevalent. Like we as women in poker, we know who those characters are, who are not good to women in poker. And I just hated the argument because it just muddied the waters. It just is just like a lot of noise. Let's get rid of the noise and let's get to the truth. That's just what I think about that. I just, as a feminist, I hated that.
Reluctantly, I'm going to respond to that.
Okay.
Because I know how this shit goes, but I'm going to do it anyways. Yeah, look, let me preface, because you have to on sensitive situations.
Are you coming from a biased standpoint, or are you just objectively responding to it? I'm just curious.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe biased. Maybe biased. Just I'll answer, and then you tell me what I came with. The prefacing it is this. If any woman is discriminated against in a situation like this, I do believe you have the right to pick up the cross and fight for it. I
would agree.
Okay, yeah.
And I would say so if I thought there was
right. Yeah. So no, but let me just continue, because I'm a momentum guy, and if I can't get it out, I got to start over and then repeat the same shit. It's this horrible fucking thing. So yes. So I do believe in that. Okay. So I need to get that out for the feminists out there to say to me that I don't understand because I don't walk in their shoes and blah, blah, blah. That's just understand that I believe in that cause when it's justified. What I don't believe in is that it's used in every instance where a woman is associated with a situation, because then I think it waters down the movement. I think it waters down the next time that it is valid. And I think it is unfair to the other party. And I will give you an example that I could tell you now that I wasn't going to bring up. And that is, when I was there for a while, I went outside to talk to the GM outside. When I came back in, Robbie's husband, Charles, was there. And he was standing with Robbie and Ryan. And Charles was chewing up Ryan, standing there talking, just chewing him up. As I was walking up, I was listening to it. And I listened for about 10 seconds before he even knew who I was. And just explain him. He's well-dressed. He looks like a GQ attorney. He's got the fancy pants lifted up with the no socks and
he's an LA guy.
The LA guy, right? Just put together, could tell he's sharp, looks successful, whatever. That's another thing. I come walking in with a fucking tank top with no sleeves and a fucking hat backwards, okay? So I come in, I'm sitting there, Ryan goes, "This is Nick, my partner." He takes his attention from him and he starts laying into me. And again, no big deal. He's defending his wife. Emotions are high. Fine. But it was this attorney talk with, you sequestered Robbie in a dark corner, and because she's a woman and she's being treated this way because she's a woman, blah, blah, blah. And so there's all this like lawyer shit. And I listened for a second and I said, listen, don't let that hat backwards and the t-shirt fool you. I said, I've been in a long time. I said, I complimented him. I could see you're successful. You're well put together. You're an alpha, all that shit.
You called him an alpha?
Yeah, I said, you look like you're trying, you're being an alpha. I said, you're being an alpha.
You know, that's
you're protecting your woman.
Over alphaing another alpha.
I know.
You call him an alpha. You're like, look, buddy, you're an alpha.
I'm a-mogging him. That's the alpha. Yeah.
You just like put him down.
No, but I don't want it to be that. But I said it for that reason too, like to say, look, I get it. Like you're protecting your wife. You're here. You're an attorney. I said, but let's do one thing. Let's stop with this attorney talk, this sequestered shit. I said, first of all, they were aside discussing something. I'm not going to say what Robbie felt. So if she felt threatened, okay. We talked about that earlier. I'm not going to speak for her. And if she felt that way, fine. I said, but whether Robbie, and I know there's going to be jokes here, whether Robbie was a woman or a man, black or white, green, purple, tall, short, fat, skinny, I don't give a fuck. She will be treated the same way here. So if you want to start talking to get this solved, fixed, and figure it out, we can do that. If you keep up the lawyer talk, he goes, well, okay, you want me to dumb it down? I said, no, I don't want you to dumb it down. I said, I want you to be a real person with me. That's what I want, because I don't need it to be dumbed down. I need to have a conversation that I'm not being legally threatened in this conversation. So here it is, because I want what you want. Totally deflated. We had a great conversation. She was saying, stop it. I offered the money. Stop it. You shouldn't even come here. You're making it worse. Okay. We had a conversation. We're fine. But to my point, it's like, for that card to be pulled, in a situation that has nothing to do with it, waters down what we are trying to accomplish, what is getting to the truth. This isn't about like judging someone or treating someone different because they're gender or anything else. And by the way, in defense of Garrett, he is not that person. He would not treat somebody differently because they're a woman. And either would Ryan Feldman. Now, I know a lot of people might look at me or they think they know my ideologies and think that's the truth. I'm the last person in the world that would do that. I'm actually, on the contrary, would be defending women and children because and again, I know I don't want to offend any of the feminists like you need defense, but I'm saying that's just like who I am. And so I just think that, go aheid.
No, your microphone. You're all over the place.
Yeah.
You're like one of our guests.
Yeah, sorry. So for me, I think that's counterproductive. And there's no place for it in certain situations.
Yeah, I think you said what I said, but applying it to your situation.
To the situation, yeah.
I like one of the things that I wanted to do today was just like kind of just tell the truth and
right.
And that's sincerely how I think of this situation.
Yeah.
I was a little frustrated, which is why you saw like I was kind of quiet in the first little while. And I was really not enjoying the arguments from, it was because she's a woman. I think that if that was Rip or like someone else at the table in the exact same scenario, they'd get fucking lit up.
For sure. Maybe more.
Maybe more because she gets she doesn't know poker very well. She's fairly new to the game. So maybe she just doesn't know. And she's still being scrutinized even with that argument.
Yeah.
Like, can you imagine someone who knows poker better than her? I don't want to say she doesn't know poker. Like, she clearly knows poker somewhat. But she would have been lit up, I think, just as much, if not more, if she was a man. So.
Yeah.
Okay. I had a question remember we talked about not interrupting each other?
Did I interrupt you?
No. And then I try not to interrupt you. And then I forget
write it down next time.
I do write it down, but like sometimes I'm like interested in what you're saying.
Yeah, it's rough.
I want to talk about Robbie.
Okay.
How long have you known Robbie for?
Maybe after she played the first time. The first time I ever met her was when I played... I think the first time I ever met her was when I played Max Payne Monday.
With me?
Yeah, because she DM'd me on Twitter and said, I'm going to be... And I'll just say this, it's fine. I'm going to be... Because now it's out. I'm going to be at the casino to meet Beans. Are you there? I wanted to say hi as one of the owners of the show. She wanted to say hi. I said, yeah, ironically, I am. I don't play Mondays, but I'm here. And I said, you're doing what? And she said what she said. And I said, okay. And I said, the show's about to start. She says, I'm in the bathroom. I said, okay, I'll walk to where it is and I'll wait outside. She came over, said, hello, nice to meet you. And that's the first time I met her.
Yeah, I was there that night. I didn't get a chance to see or meet her.
Yeah, it was really quick. Couple minutes, we talked and I came back and the intros were being done and we sat down and we played.
And so Beans was playing in the game.
And I believe the second time I saw her was when I played on a Tuesday, which was the next day. She came, was Rip playing in the game, I think? Not her. It was the next day Rip played in the Tuesday game. Now, if I got this wrong, forgive me because it's a blur. But right after Max Payne Monday, I played on Tuesday. I think Rip played in the game. And she came after to meet him. And I think she said to me, hey, that's right. Hey, we're going to have a drink in the bar. Do you want to go with us? Thank God I don't stick around. And I said no. And I went home because I leave right after I play. And it's just not my thing. It wasn't for any reason. There was nothing with them. It wasn't like, oh, I shouldn't do that. Or they're players. It just was like, no, I want to go home. So I went home. But I swear I've thanked my lucky stars every day that I didn't sit in that bar and talk to both of them. Not that, by the way, not that they have been proven to do anything wrong, but it would have been a bad look. So that was the second time I met her.
Was that the night that Nick Airball went out with them?
I don't know. Could have been. I don't know.
Or I think he went out with them the day before, so it was Wednesday.
I can't remember. So it might have been Wednesday because he played Wednesday. But again, don't quote me. Then the final time I ever saw her was when this happened on that Thursday, when I came to the casino to try to deal with it. And that's it.
Can you talk to us about your thoughts about her as a person and like your correspondence?
No, only because it wouldn't be fair to give my thoughts on something good, bad, or indifferent, because if it's bad, which I'm not saying it is, I think that goes against her character. And if it's good, I think that helps build her character. And I want to stay out of the character thing because I don't know her. Like when I make a comment about Garrett and him not caring about losing the pots, because I have experience. Mm-hmm. And so I could say that, right? But when this is over, I will.
Have you had any contact with Garrett since he first posted?
I had 2 phone conversations with him that lasted a couple minutes, and all they were based on is, "Are you okay?" Because he's a person. Like, "Are you okay?" "Yeah, I'm okay." That's it.
After the investigation's over, do you want to get Garrett back on the show?
If Garrett wants to come back on the show, I think it would be a great show. But I don't. We'll have to see how this lands and how he feels. Sure. I'll have Robbie on. I mean, it's a show. When this is over, of course.
I think it would be unfair to not at least address, some of Garrett's posts.
Sure.
And Garrett posted on 2+2. I'm sure everyone in our audience has watched it.
Right.
Referenced some video timestamps. I've gone through every single hand. I know what he's referencing.
Mm-hmm.
And then he called out a lot of people. Have you gone through it? I know that you're inundated.
I read it once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts on it?
My thoughts on it are this: to not specifically speak to his points, because those are his points and there's an investigation, but I can speak on the fact that I saw somebody somewhere write, "Wow, it's great that Garrett finally did their investigation." That's not an investigation. That's his version of a lot of things that happen. That's part of information that will be an investigation. Everything, I wouldn't say everything, but I think everything in there, I know. Like I know the hands, I know the timestamps. He put it together very nice, so thank you for putting together a nice format of something that I can use. But everything in there, I talked to Ryan about. It's like, well, we know all this. Like, I know he's just getting out his side, and that's his business.
And it's organized in a way that that he's thinking about it.
Yeah,
and I think
can't put that out right now. So people are like, why not? That's not something I can put out. I need to I'm reviewing all this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Garrett, he's reviewing it. That's good. Well, you're like investigating team. So when you say this isn't an investigation, I mean, we have to also say like Doug Polk's videos aren't an investigation. Joey's aren't an investigation. Like they're just media sources, right?
They're media cursory investigations that are very speculative, unless they get a hard source that they want to out and give a piece of information with a fact. Everything else, like it's their opinion. I don't want to say they're opinion pieces. I mean, Doug's is an opinion piece because he leans towards guilty, and Joey's not. Joey's is just, let's get everyone on and everyone's talk, for 10 hours about what they think about it. And again, that's great. It's a good show. But a true investigation is, digging into phone records, digging into, different aspects, following cameras around, seeing if, like, I could just tell you this, like, every single person, including people you don't know, are being investigated, watched on the cameras about where they were in the casino before, after this incident. So
as a part of this investigation, are people's phone records being given up as a voluntary method, or the only way you can get someone's phone records is if you are law enforcement and you could subpoena them. What if Robbie says no?
Then we don't get them. Because she's not guilty of a crime, there's no way to subpoena her records. And so these are going to be, through a legal process, they're going to be asked for things. Whoever gives them, whoever doesn't.
Right. And so that goes back to my question on like how we're going to identify guilt or non-guilt in this investigation. Like if Robbie is not compliant and doesn't give up phone records and doesn't want to do anything, what do you do at that point?
What do you do about that particular micro point or in general?
in general, as far as this investigation is concerned, and I don't mean just Robbie, like it could be Rip, it could be
pick
anybody.
any name. Doesn't matter. Name X and they don't want to give it. Okay, so what you do is you do the investigation without that information because you can't get it, and then you put a mark showing that would be like, how about this? If you were involved in this and you were innocent, would you give yours?
Of course.
So would I.
Right.
So that's what people have to understand about investigations or any type of thing is there are like markers of things that lead to guilt or innocence. That's why even with like when you're going to prosecute someone, like the investigation leads up to there is enough circumstantial evidence to make an indictment, to make a prosecution. That's the thing. Or there's not enough of that circumstantial evidence to go forward. And so every investigation is ironclad, and not every verdict is 1000%. It's a totality of every marker. Because you still have somebody, like even in a murder trial, like you may not have video, you might not have this, but you have so much that they are convicted guilty. Right? Even it's supposed to be
sometimes they don't have a body and they still convict them
and they still
murder.
convict, right? So it's like that. But with us, there is no sentence if we can't prove somebody 100% did it or a confession. So we might have to conclude an investigation with, here are all the facts. Whatever you guys think. We could not get a confession. We could not get something on video. This is just a bunch of markers. Here they are in the defense of this person and against them. Here it is. Here's our investigation. It could happen like that. I don't know. I mean, if anyone with the right mind understands it, there's nothing more you can do to that than that.
Right. And I think it's important for the audience to understand, like, there are limitations as to like what you can do legally as like a private a private investigation.
I cannot legally force anyone to do any of these things. I'm telling you, whether they're especially employees, they have rights. There's an employment stuff. So anything anyone does of our employees is going to be, it's going to be done through a legal department, and it's going to be with their consent and with their approval. I'm not going to force anyone to do shit. Can't. Same thing with all the other cursory people that don't work for me. I can't make them do anything. This isn't a criminal investigation where I could subpoena something or go. No, I'm just going to say, hey, you're innocent. You say, give me this. And if they do, they do.
I have a few points that I want to talk about. One of them being like, did you read the text messages that Robbie posted that were apparently from Brian?
I know you're not going to believe this. I read them, but I didn't like scrutinize them. I kind of got the gist of it, and it made me just shake my head. I just didn't want to, like, I read it. I know what they said. I know if it was Brian or not. I know what they said basically. I can't remember, but I could paraphrase in my head.
He said, like, thank you for having me leave a toxic work environment.
Yeah.
Thank you for saving my life. It's like,
yeah, but that's if that really was his stuff.
I don't think it was his stuff. I will just tell you, like, okay, how about this? Because we're going to deal with probabilities. I'm sorry for interrupting you. I think like there's 90% chance it's not him. I think she's creating her own.
Well, I'm not going to comment on that because I really don't know, and I know you feel strongly that way. But all I could say is this: let's say it is him. He's gonna call
Garrett names and thank her for saving his life. Like, it's so ridiculous.
He might have, because if she still has an opportunity to prosecute, he may want to stand her good side.
Yeah, again, but why would he talk shit about Hustler? Why would he?
Well, let me give you my opinion. You have to. This is one of those times where I got to talk. All right. So, in the vein of it's him, I think this is commonplace for somebody to, I can't say anything that I talked about with Brian. I'm not going to. It would be foolish of me, reckless. I can't legally, but I could say a cursory thing that has nothing. I could say a thing that has nothing to do with him, but a generality. There are many times where employees make mistakes and they do things to cause their own issue, which could be grabbing 3 chocolate chips and taking them. And we know he did that. So I could say that. That's a fact. That's not my opinion. He stole $15,000 from somebody. For now, that's what it looks like. And if he thought he was in a toxic environment, he should have left. That sounds to me like defending his actions of not being paid enough. He came in as an intern. can't pay somebody a whole shitload of money to do what he does. It's not that type of paying job. And if he needed a different paying job, he should have went and got it, and maybe did a different type of education, or figured out, or been applying. I don't know. All I know is we treated him good. I liked him. I didn't have anything against him. I didn't know him that well. I wasn't close with him. And if he feels that way, I just think if that was something he wrote, it would be my own opinion that that's just unfortunate that someone is going to try to direct blame. But whatever.
I think it's important to delineate between taken and stolen. I can't tell if there was something egregious going on, if there was some sort of cheating, if there was cheating and he was helping her and he felt that was his cut, he may have taken it. And, you know, we don't know if it was taken or stolen. Mm-hmm. Either way, it was wrong. There's just like a lot of coincidences around that. It's very, very peculiar to me.
Well, it's definitely strange timing, and I would think that if somebody, and I don't have an opinion either way, I really mean that. I'm going to let the facts keep playing out, and there's some things that I think could shake that out. But I would just say from a stupidest criminal aspect, if you did take them, steal them, then why would you do that after one of the biggest poker incidents ever, when you know that someone was going to probably, like, let me tell you something. Everyone could yap about how safe casinos are. There's only so many things casinos can do and watch every single movement of everyone. Most crimes, this is from the GM, most people get caught cheating is because they're looking at something else and they find it. And the only reason Brian got caught is because we were looking at the footage because of the situation of the hands, and the casino went, wait a minute, what? Whoa. Oh, shit. And then we dealt with it.
It's just very coincidental.
It is.
And eventually you get enough coincidences where you start to believe that something nefarious is going on.
I like I said, I stand by. I don't know.
Also, and Garrett mentioned Nick Airball in his 2+2 thread or post. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, Nick Airball had dinner with Rip, Jacob, and Robbie the night before this all happened.
By the way, that's two people. Rip and Jacob are the same person.
Rip and Jacob are I'm just for the audience in case someone, and he called into Joey's stream last night, and he's one person. So as like all of this has been unfolding, I've been leaning more and more towards there's something going on, right? Mm-hmm. But Nick Airball seems, from my perspective, from that interview, seems to have been in the wrong place at the wrong time, met two people, overly trusted them. And he was like very honest in his account of everything. I'm not saying he's 100% clear in my head, but he's more leaning in the direction of being clear and just being a guy who's talking shit about Garrett, who like wants to make up stuff for the game. Like, I genuinely believed him last night when he was like, look, I don't hate Garrett. I just wanted to create some stuff, some drama for the live stream because it's a show. And like, it's everything he said sounded reasonable and believable.
Okay.
I think it takes a lot of work to be a professional liar. As we can see, like, your lies show up real quickly and people can sniff it out. So for him, from my perspective, I feel like he's a little bit more clear of this situation. That's the only thing that has changed my mind. That's the only thing I disagree with on Garrett's post. Well, I shouldn't say it. That's the only thing I disagree with. I think it's probable that there's something going on. I'm not 100% convinced, but I think like Nick Airball is less likely involved now.
Okay.
I know you can't say anything.
Tell me what the question is.
No, I'm just curious. Like,
because you made a statement. If you have something, I'll answer if I can. What's the question?
Any like anything you want to say about Nick Airball?
In relation to innocent or guilt, no.
This whole situation.
Yeah, no, I don't have an opinion. First of all, I didn't watch his interview on Joey Ingram's. I kind of had enough of watching all that shit.
I eventually turned it off last night and went to bed.
I'm done watching it, and it's a great show, and I love Joey, but I'm just kind of done because it's frustrating me to watch. Now, as far as Nick Airball goes, Nick does a lot of talking. I didn't listen to that. And everybody is going to be looked at just like anyone, and I have nothing negative to say about Nick.
So DGAF. Anyone who's asked me about DGAF, I'm like, he sat in seat 2 and he lost when I was there on Max Payne Monday. I think he lost like $22K. Mm-hmm. And he was a grumpy man.
Yeah, we laughed about that. Yeah.
DGAF for me, I'm like 90% certain he had nothing to do with it. But that's mostly because like none of my consideration was ever towards him. And so I've never done a deep dive on his stuff besides like some stuff that was posted on 2+2. But I'm like, look, this guy's been playing professionally. And this is what's different between like a case like Robbie, someone who's just been playing for a year. We don't know where the money came from. She's staked. Like everything's weird about it. Mm-hmm. But DGAF has been around for 20 plus years in poker, right? He plays bigger games. Like making $200,000 a year in like a 20-40 game or 20-40-80, whatever he's playing. I don't know how big he's playing off stream. Like, pretty reasonable. I don't know. Like it doesn't pass the sniff test for me. The stuff that's going on in 2+2. Then again, like I'm open to considering stuff if it makes sense, but it didn't make sense to me what they were putting on 2+2.
Here's what I mean about the shows and different things, okay? So if everyone wants to talk about Brian showing up on Monday and handing him something and putting something in his pocket, I tell you what, before you go blast that out and talk about it for an hour, why don't you call Billy? And why don't you find out that was 2 chocolate chips that he gave Billy because he owed him $8,000 and $2,000 to somebody else. So,
I think everyone cleared that up.
They cleared that up. But until they cleared that up, guess what? Clear that up before you go on, in my opinion, and bloviate over it, because all that is one call away and one video away from us checking. So find out first before you put that on somebody. Because the problem is that there's a lot of people out there that are still blowing that up and still posting. And that's fine. We could say, oh, we don't care. Those are the dumb people. But it still sucks for somebody. I don't like it. And it's one of the things that I just fucking despise. And so, you would find out that Brian didn't work that day. He handed him the 2 chocolate chips. Guess where he got them? Well, we know where he got them, and paid his markers because whatever. And guess what? He didn't work that day. He didn't go up in the booth. So maybe find out those things and continue to investigate. Continue to be open-minded. Yes, the community, do that. All you guys. But do a little work on it first. And then if you can't explain it, then put it out there.
Right. And I think that you've said this, like you have to be okay to have a level of criticism or review when these kinds of things come up. And he plays a lot. And so I understand that people want to review those hands too, because everybody's trying to figure out what's going on. Yep. Now, are there a ton of people who just like jump on every single theory and like drive that shit into the ground? Yes, unfortunately. But like, I think the majority of people who are reasonable understand that. So, and here's another way. Like I have a way of like deciphering who I'm going to surround myself with within like poker or whoever. So first thing I do when like I'm trying to figure out whether a person is legit or not, or not a cheater or something, is I will go to people around me who I trust. I have an established group around me of people I know are honest people who will give me good feedback. And I ask them like, is this person, like, do you know that this person's legit? And if like the majority of those people around me are vouching for that person, or if not all of them, which in the case of DGAF, that's the case, then I'm like, oh, okay, so this person's credible. And then I will take the stand of, this is a very credible person that has never like caused any problems in the last 20 years within poker. And then I'm going to look at the data and be like, okay, this is not really a smoking gun or something. Well,
I'll tell you again, I'm going to give Doug Polk some respect that he deserves. And let me tell you, so there's some other people out there and are yapping about the C2 and about Billy and all that. I got it. But let me say this. Doug also thought the same thing. But guess what Doug did? Doug came to me and he asked me, and I said, no. And here's why. And I told him some things that I'm not going to say here of why not. And he went,
he asked you what? What did you say no to?
He was questioning Billy. He was questioning the handoff.
I thought you meant like he was questioning this actual seat.
No, good. I'm glad you cleared that up so they understand what I'm talking about. He was questioning Billy sitting in that seat. He was questioning his wins. He was questioning some of his style of play, how he wins, and he was questioning the handoff and it being by Brian. But to his credit, he came to me and he said, "Here's what this looks really bad, man." He didn't go on and say anything. He said, "This looks really bad." And he gave an opportunity to hear what I told him about Billy and how he, has been integral. And then he took time to have the hands looked at. He had somebody look at them, or he did it. He did that. And he said, after I looked at him, yeah, it's fine. Okay. And then he took the time to figure out what was handed to him. I respect that. I'm cool with him wondering. I'm cool with him wanting to expose that if it's the truth. I'm cool with him looking for the truth. What I'm not cool with is a bunch of people getting on anything. And I'm not talking about Joey. I'm saying anywhere, and just start blasting about it, because you have a bunch of people out there that are going to start posting about it, tagging him, running his name through the mud, speculating and convicting him right on the spot. It happened. And that's where I have a problem with this community. I have a problem with the process, not what you said. We all need to ask the questions. We all need to research. We need to do the investigation. We need to find out if you put yourself in that position, we got to check it out. Okay, great. But the way Doug did that was the way you should do it. And the way other people are doing it is the way you shouldn't do it. That's what I have a problem with.
Not everyone has the opportunity that Doug had, though. And not everyone has the resources that Doug has. Some people are just online sleuthing. So
I'm talking about prominent people that have a mic.
Well, I was going to say, you can't give the voices of people like random trolls online the same weight as you would like someone like Joey or Doug.
I'm not talking about random trolls. I'm talking about people that are prominent in the poker community that are coming on shows and talking about it.
Who are you talking about?
You guys figure it out.
Well, I think the poker community, for the most part, it is like kind of an ocean where a tide will come in and then slowly this is a fucking bad analogy, but like I feel like
I felt like it was a Hallmark card.
I feel like we're at the core a very logical center, like a logical core. We have like really great minds at our center, at our core, and there's like a lot of scattered shit around it. But the whole moves slowly, and the scattered ones slowly come in. So as the truth starts to be revealed, like with this whole DGAF stuff, and it's coming out that like there was no nefarious activity with DGAF, right? And so there's just few scragglers out there who will continue the agenda, but they'll see that as a whole, we're moving away from that. And like we've uncovered the truth, and like it's a nothing burger, as you like to say. And so I understand that I think it's good to consider all options. Yes. I think it's good to criticize or to scrutinize or whatever, but like
responsibly.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
And yeah,
we should do all those things.
So I think the whole DGAF thing has been put to bed, or will be put to bed soon. And I think like the biggest voices in poker are seeing that. And if new evidence comes out that that's not true, then everyone will change their minds again.
I'll tell you this right now. If new evidence comes out in that subject, I'll be the first one to be behind the posse.
Right. And the way you feel about DGAF is the way I feel about you. Like if I find out that you had anything to do
come
with
after me.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't like come after
you know what I
me.
mean? Blast it. Don't protect me. Don't defend me.
I mean, you know who you asked to be your co-host. Like I'm not gonna sit there and pander to you. So
let's put it this way. If ever something like that happened, I got nothing coming.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. So no doubt.
I feel like, how many hours have we been going now?
3 hours. Wow, this is our longest pod.
Right, but I think
I know it needs to be. Yeah, they'll be watching this. Yes, it's going to be a subject interesting to people. I
hope that we got everything that everyone was curious about. And in the comments section, if you have any more questions, or if you don't want to, if you have some information and you don't want to, say it in the comments, please email us in the email in the description.
Yeah.
And And then Nick and I will take some time and review them and answer your questions.
Yeah, and I think what we're going to do, instead of answering, if this is okay with you, if we agree on it, instead of answering in the comments, I think we'll circle back in 2 weeks. Because
that's what I was going to say.
Oh, yeah. We'll circle back and we'll have our list.
You'll print them out on paper.
I will, yeah.
And we'll go through...
I'll actually write them in stone, like with the thing, like the Flintstones.
Okay, Fred Flintstone.
Yeah.
Does your car have a motor, or are you just using your feet?
No, I use my feet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you'd think I'd be skinnier.
You'd think. The ribs are the Flintstone ribs that knock over the car.
Right. If do you have any other questions for me, or can I close?
I had one question here on the beans. One more beans question, I guess.
Okay.
And so I guess like there's holes in that story about the him getting $20,000 from her. And like I've heard noises about like that potentially being a payment from the Friday show, or that being a loan, and that he had a wire and he couldn't get the wire. So I'm just like wondering, is there a way, like let's say someone in the casino is like, hey Veronica, I've got $100,000 coming. Can you loan me $10,000? The wire isn't in yet. Is there a way for me to go up to the cage and say, hey, is this guy's wire supposed to be coming in? Like, is there any evidence of a wire before I loan this guy $10,000?
To the casino?
Yeah.
I think the wire wasn't to the casino. I think the wire was just he had some wire coming in that didn't clear yet, and so he didn't have the funds to go get cash.
Yeah. So are there ways to check if there's a wire?
You go to your bank online, and if she loaned him money on Max Payne Monday, then you would have to see anytime 2 days before to some days after if any wire came in for the set amount that he said was come in, which I think was $150,000. So if that wire came in within this period, then that would be a truth. If you don't see it and you don't see any wires for that amount in his account, now the only one to show you that would be him.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. So there's no way for like someone like... Yeah. So someone was saying in comments that you could go to a casino cage if the money's being wired to the casino, but it wasn't in this case. But someone was asking if you could go to a casino cage and say, hey, is this guy's wire coming in?
Yeah, you could see a wire pending without it cleared yet.
In the casino?
I believe so.
I'm assuming the casino would need permission from the person who's
Of course,
wired.
they'll never give out any information that's not theirs to give.
I want a list of all the wires that are coming in.
Yeah, we'll jump right on that for you.
Okay, so if you have any further questions, you need any clarification on anything, like I feel like it was a good 3 hours. I don't know how much. We can't do a 12-hour Joey stream.
I haven't had a colonoscopy, so I think I'm good.
I'm not going to be the one to Garrett you tonight.
Well, who knows what you'll find up there. All right, so here's how I'm going to close this. So I'm going to make it really brief. We're going to continue what we're doing. Whatever the truth is, if I can find a truth, you understand that, I will bring it out, and I'll bring it out in the appropriate time. Sooner the better. I'll always do it as soon as I can. And I just would ask the poker community, innocent until proven guilty. And these are 2 lives that are out there, including a lot of them, Garrett's, Robbie's, for everyone out there smashing both of them and whatever end you're on, I would just say, like, why? Why do that? Like, you can have your opinion, and I know that that's not going to stop most people, but like I said before on Joey's show, but I could say it now in a more peaceful atmosphere and just say these are human beings with feelings, emotions, things they struggle with. If Garrett's sitting out there really believing what he believes and this did happen, could you imagine what he feels? The same thing with Robbie. If she didn't do anything and this is what's happening, like, could you imagine? Because I know that I'm only on the end of it. Now, of course, there's speculation, all that shit, but I'm on the end of it that I'm just trying to figure it out, and it's hard, and I'm wiped out, and you go low on bandwidth, and you hit low points because this is. But if I was Robbie, and I was accused of this, and I didn't do it, I would feel like my life ended. And if I was Garrett, and I'm right, and he's taken the beating he's taken, I would feel like my life ended. Meaning ended in the sense that your reputation is at stake, you're hurting. And I'm not trying to be like all, this touchy-feely bullshit moment, but like, why? Let's consider that. Let's get to the truth. Everyone out there looking for it, go hard, don't stop, but do it responsibly. And let's try to figure it out. That's what I have to say. All right. All right. This is the Nick Vertucci Show. I am Nick Vertucci for Veronica Brill, the NV Show. NV out.